Chapter 793. Everything was as smooth as flowing water, as if he had undergone special training. This was the biggest loophole. However, it seems that I should praise you. You can fool Lucci and the others. No, not only the CP9, even I thought that Pluton's blueprint was not in your hands. It's amazing to be able to do this, but it's over. Call out Pluton's blueprint, don't force me to do it myself. It has to be said that everyone has their value. For a person like Spandam to be able to play his despicableness to such a degree, it is also a kind of favor from God. Spandam gloomily took out Pluton's blueprint and looked at the ancient data in his hand. Although he couldn't understand it, he could clearly see the reluctance and unwillingness in his eyes. The cooked duck disappeared. I'm afraid no one can accept this kind of thing. These are the things that the five lords specifically requested. Thinking of the existence of Gorosei, 5 elder stars, Spandam's eyes flashed with cunning, and he raised his voice and said, "The things that the 5 masters want must be obtained, or the whole world will suffer their anger." Dustless heard this and looked cold, keenly smelling a threat and warning. A large number of photons suddenly floated out of his body and whizzed out. Wherever the beam went, everything was in a state of decay. The whole world has to suffer the anger of Gorosei, 5 elder stars. I am an exception among those countless people. The dazzling light that was enough to burn everything fell from the sky. Spandam was about to look up, but a majestic force poured down and instantly crushed his body. Under the impact of the powerful force, the ground cracked like a spider web. Boom, 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 the earth couldn't withstand the flash of light, forming a large scorched hole. In the deepest part of the hole, Dustless stepped on Spandam's chest. I didn't die. When did I become so strong? Especially my endurance, Spandam rejoiced and laughed with tears of joy. Unknowingly, he became so strong. Don't misunderstand, I was just afraid that Pluton's blueprint would be burnt, so you didn't bear the power of this blow. Dustless looked down at Spandam with an indifferent expression. The more he looked at Spandam, the more he felt that Spandam was an idiot. Soon after, he looked at the design of the Netherworld King in Spandam's hand, and a strong gravitational force emerged from his palm. These are the things that the 5 lords need. Mr. Great General, you'd better not harbor any evil thoughts. Spandam still chose to stand on this side when he recalled the terrifying strength and influence of the 5 elder stars. However, when he said that, Dustless's face darkened again. Of course, I'm not threatening you. I'm doing this for your sake. Spandam said hurriedly, with a look of loyalty on his face. It seems that Lucci didn't tell you about my past, Spandam. Ripples splashed from the bottom of his eyes, and a thick sneer swept across his face. As a celestial dragon, do I need to be afraid of the 5 elder stars whose status is not as good as mine? In this world, the status of the celestial dragons was above the Gorosei. Spandam was directly petrified. After a few seconds of sluggishness, he recovered and said in a trembling voice, You are actually a celestial dragon." Spandam was sweating profusely, the fear in his eyes was clearly visible, and his whole body was trembling uncontrollably. Celestial dragons were not bound to do things. They did not need a reason to kill people. Those who could be killed directly were God's blessings. There were many people who were tortured to death. I'll let you go this time. Looking at the design of the Netherworld King in his hand, Dustless withdrew his foot and turned to leave this place. Caesar had promised him that it would only take 2 years to obtain the other half of the design and create the complete Netherworld King. This evil star is finally gone. Staring at the back of Dustless, Spandam breathed a sigh of relief, and his whole spirit recovered a lot. Encountering a celestial dragon was more serious than encountering the enemy who killed his father. Right, Dustless's footsteps suddenly stopped and stood still. He seemed to be thinking about something. After a while, his body turned into an afterimage and disappeared. What a fast speed! Spandam opened his mouth in surprise. This was the strength of a general. When he moved, it was impossible to see with the naked eye. Thinking of Dustless's identity and his shocking strength, he was about to flatter him, but suddenly he felt a pain in his chest. Poochie! Dustless, who had disappeared, suddenly appeared behind Spandam. The golden photon greatsword in his hand was incomparably sharp. It pierced through Spandam's body, leaving behind a charred hole. Spandam could feel his vitality rapidly depleting. Why did you kill me? Spandam's eyes were bloodshot, and he roared unwillingly. His sharp tone made people tremble. You clearly said before that you would not kill me. Why are you going back on your words now? Spandam, who was gasping for breath, roared like a madman. He was about to die. He certainly did not care about status. Going back on my words. It's just nonsense. Glancing coldly at the hysterical Spandam, Dustless made a distressed expression and said helplessly, my memory is really not good. I am too forgetful. I said before that I would kill you in more than 3 seconds. From just now to now, it is far more than 3 seconds. Fortunately, I remembered when I was about to leave, so... It's natural to kill you. Chapter 794. Spandam stared at Dustless unwillingly. His eyes almost popped out of their sockets, and his body trembled with anger. He used all his strength to take out the golden den mushi and immediately pressed it. I will drag you down with me. Spandam roared with his spittle flying all over the sky, and a sick smile appeared on his cheeks. Not only you, but all the Marines and pirates on the island will fall, as well as the Straw Hat Pirates, CP9, and Nico Robin will all go to hell with me. Spandam laughed crazily. You want to kill me with a mere command. Do you think that the highest combat power in the Marine headquarters is a rookie? Dustless glanced at Spandam with pity as he sneered again and again. This kind of mad dog doesn't distinguish between friend and foe. Who knows when he will come out and bite you, so it's wise to kill him as soon as possible. Demon Slaughter Order. What is that? Damn it, Spandam wants to kill us as well. Run. At the same time, the contents of the conversation between Dustless and Spandam were broadcasted. The pirates and Marines in the war were all shocked, and then they threw away their weapons and fled. You took my Pluton blueprint, I will make you pay the price. Spandam roared with his last strength, and he stared at Dustless with vengeance, and immediately laughed wildly. Our conversation has been broadcasted all over Eni's lobby through the broadcast den mushi, you won't have it easy. It won't take long for the whole world to know that you have the Pluton blueprint, and the Marines and pirates won't let you go. After that, Spandam stared at Dustless's face, trying to find fear on his face. That's it. Vulgar. Dustless stepped on the den mushi and sneered, you idiot, don't forget that you have just activated the Demon Slaughter Order. The Demon Slaughter Order is an indiscriminate bombardment until the entire island is burned to ashes, which means that all the people on the island will be brutally slaughtered by the Marines. I have taken countless things in the world, and this so-called Pluton blueprint is just one of them, that's all. He aimed his thumb at Spandam's head, and the light beam condensed and swallowed his whole body in the next second. What a worrisome fellow. He's already dead, yet he's still causing me so much trouble. Spandam's body was burnt, and there was no trace of vitality, and the disgusting smell of meat floated around him. Dustless pondered for a while, and turned to leave. He originally planned to return to the Marine headquarters directly through the Gate of Justice, but now it seems like he has to change his plan. The order is effective against ordinary Marines and pirates, but it won't work against Lucci and Luffy. I have to kill them myself. In the dark tunnel den mushi's voice, Dustless's face is dense. The news of getting Pluton blueprint must not be made known to everyone. Although Dustless isn't afraid of being the enemy of the whole world, there will be endless troubles. Therefore, Dustless decided to kill them himself to avoid spreading the news. He only needs to kill the CP9, and the Straw Hat Pirates will be the scapegoat. As for the ordinary Marines, the demon slaughter order will be enough to kill them. Caw caw caw. At this moment, the ground trembled and cracked, and then White Zetsu broke out of the ground. I have sunk the ship's dock near Eni's lobby, and the pirates and Marines have become turtles in a jar. There is no way out. White Zetsu laughed. Good job. Dustless nodded slightly, showing a satisfied smile, and then a mysterious smile appeared on his face. Go and inform Robin, let her secretly take a few photos of the Straw Hat Pirates suppressing the CP9, I need them. Dustless-sama wants the Straw Hat Pirates to be the scapegoat. After following Dustless for so many years, White Zetsu also practiced his agile thinking ability and understood his intentions. This is a must, the CP9 was inexplicably destroyed, and someone must be the scapegoat, otherwise, sooner or later, they will suspect me. The Straw Hat Pirates are the best candidates for the scapegoat. Dustless said without concealing anything. They don't even know who the enemy is, and the CP9 was inexplicably destroyed. There is no doubt that the world government will definitely send someone to investigate, and it is only a matter of time before they find out who is behind this. Dustless will also surface, and for this kind of thing, Straw Hat Luffy is the most suitable scapegoat. Boom boom boom. About half an hour later, a violent vibration came from the tunnel ahead. Dustless frowned slightly as he could clearly feel the vibration under his feet. This level of battle. It doesn't seem like a battle between admirals, it seems to be beyond the level of vice admirals. Interesting. Dustless's handsome face showed a smile, and he couldn't help but speed up his pace. Judging from the scale of the battle and the fluctuations, it is obviously at the level of a quasi-admiral. Whether it is Luffy or Lucci, or anyone else, they haven't reached this level, so it might be someone else. At the same time, Marine Headquarters battleships also arrived at Eni's lobby, and a huge group of 5 vice-admirals began to ruthlessly bombard the entire island. Marine Headquarters is very close to Eni's lobby, it only takes half an hour. Countless shells bombarded the island, tearing the ground into pieces, all the buildings collapsed, and the fire was monstrous. In just a few minutes, the blazing flames engulfed the entire island. The miserable scene was no different from the end of the world, and the people of Eni's lobby were screaming. Chapter 795. The further he went, the clearer the vibrations from the depths of the dark corridor became, and even the entire tunnel trembled with his rhythm. Kakaka, with the loud noise, the tunnel was filled with the sound of water flowing, and the momentum was uncontrollable as it rapidly expanded and extended. The incomparably long corridor was instantly eroded and occupied. The mighty water flow oppressed Dustless. Did the cannon blast break the tunnel? Dustless's eyes narrowed as he secretly guessed. These tunnels are buried deep underground and can only be destroyed by the intensive bombardment of the Demon Slayer Order. But it doesn't matter, those ability users will die if they touch the sea, it's not worth my concern. The devil fruit is afraid of the sea. This is a well-known weakness. Now that the entire tunnel is annihilated by the sea, it means that all creatures in the tunnel will be destroyed. There was a large spacious area with a large number of goods piled up around it. The things loaded were ammunition supplies. The Straw Hats and CP9 were having a fierce confrontation here. Get out of my way, Frankie is behind you in the tunnel, don't block the way. Luffy glared, and his body was boiling. His whole body was dark red, and all aspects of his body were doubled, especially his strength. The scars on Lucci's body were caused by him. Luffy. It's not good, did you hear the vibration just now? Zoro approached Luffy and looked at Kaku who was confronting him. His clothes were soaked with scarlet blood, and Zoro's body was covered with visible wounds. Yes, we can't stay in this place, retreat quickly, or we will be submerged by the sea. one of the three main forces of the Straw Hats, Chef Sanji said. The Straw Hats were obviously at a disadvantage and were suppressed by all the members of the CP9. But Frankie is still in their hands. Clenching his fists, Luffy said unwillingly, they should be worried, they are all ability users, and they will be finished if they are submerged in the sea. Boom boom boom, hearing this, the members of the CP9 frowned. Lucci was about to speak when the iron door behind them was suddenly broken by a powerful force, and a big man wearing only underpants appeared. Frankie. Everyone looked at the oddly dressed man and instantly recognized that this was Frankie's true body. In the entire world, he was the only one who dressed so strangely. Iceberg sent you. Forget it, it's not important anymore. Let's run for our lives. The moment he finished speaking, Frankie sped towards the other end of the tunnel. In just a few seconds, Frankie merged into the darkness and completely disappeared. Little ones, retreat. Leave this island immediately. Luffy shouted and ran towards the place where Frankie disappeared. The purpose of the Straw Hat Pirates was to rescue Frankie after receiving Mr. Iceberg's request. Frankie's sudden appearance was a bit sudden, but there was no doubt that this was his main body. Frankie. Didn't he go to the Marine headquarters with Spandam? One of the CP9 members, Kaku, was puzzled. The CP9 members frowned. Frankie was stronger than Spandam, but his body was tied with chains, so he couldn't hurt or threaten Spandam. Spandam. He's already been killed. From now on, you're free. There was a gust of wind behind them. The CP9 members were stunned. They subconsciously turned around and looked at the figure in the dark. They were secretly on guard. Louis South, Saint. After a while, Dustless came out of the darkness, and his smiling face was exposed to the light. All the members of the CP9, including Lucci and others, were stunned. Officer Spandam was killed. Califa, who recovered from her shock, immediately pursed her lips and smiled elegantly. That eyesore is finally dead. That kind of person is even more evil than pirates. These words made the CP9 members nod. That guy was too annoying. Not to mention helping them, even if he didn't help them, it would be a blessing. What a big cat, it can even fight. Sure enough, there are all kinds of strange things in this world. Dustless exclaimed as his eyes fell on the big cat in a black suit. Not long after his voice fell, a white pigeon landed on the big yellow cat. Dustless was embarrassed and immediately scratched his head. It turned out to be Lucci. Sorry, Spandam was killed by Frankie. He shouldn't have the ability to kill him. I personally tied him up. Kaku in his giraffe form expressed his doubts. Everyone looked straight at Lucci. He was the backbone of the CP9. Why did you kill him? With his hands in his pockets, Lucci asked with a blank face. His voice was close to a machine, and there was no emotional fluctuation in it. As a Marine Admiral, I have no obligation to report to you. Dustless indifferently refused. Different from before, he changed his aura and smiled like a spring breeze. That guy is dead. Whatever you choose in the future, I don't mind taking you in. Chapter 796. Wuchen refused indifferently. Different from before, his aura changed, and he smiled like a spring breeze. That guy is dead. How do you choose in the future? I don't mind taking you in. The faces of the CP9 members flashed with displeasure. Dustless actually said in front of them that he killed their boss. This is a slap in their face and contempt. Although Spandam is a well-known waste, despicable and shameless, he is even more evil than some pirates, but he is still the highest officer of the CP9. If he is killed, they won't be able to answer to the Gorosei, 5 Elder Stars. The CP9 is an espionage agency of the world government and has nothing to do with the Marine. It seems that what you just said is true. You killed him to get Pluton's blueprint. Lucci remembered the broadcast before and was full of vigilance. What will happen if I don't agree? Will you kill me? Then only death awaits. Wu Chen's face changed immediately, and his whole body emitted an oppressive aura. Are you threatening us? Kaku and the others said in a low voice. If it wasn't for Dustless's identity as a Marine Admiral, they would have already started fighting. It has always been the CP9 who threatened others. It was the first time they met Dustless. In order to leak the news of Pluton's blueprint, he intends to destroy us. Lucci understood Dustless's intention and said with a cautious expression. The Marines and the Straw Hat Pirates outside should be your targets. That's for sure. Anyone who knows that I have Pluton's blueprint must die. If it wasn't for your strength, you would have died on the spot. Dustless smiled and didn't hide anything. There was no need to lie to them. As for the group of Marines and pirates outside, the Demon Slayer order is enough to destroy them. The Straw Hat Pirates will be the scapegoats. That's why we're the only ones left. As long as we refuse your conditions, we'll be obliterated, Caliphus said with uncertainty. Not bad. I like smart women. I like that you won't do things that bring about your own destruction. Dustless nodded gently and gave her a look of appreciation. Dustless was also ready to kill them. The CP9 was the ultimate weapon trained by the government for many years, and their loyalty to the world government was deeply rooted when they were young. The CP9 is ordered to carry out the dark justice. If saving 1,000 people requires the sacrifice of 100 people, the CP9 will not hesitate to obliterate those 1,000 people. This is their cold-bloodedness. Heaven or hell, which will you choose? Dustless asked in the end, his words filled with killing intent. Isn't that obvious? Of course, I won't lower my head to you, an evil force. The CP9 is the government spy agency, betraying the Gorosei is impossible. Gabra, one of the CP9 members, shouted. From the moment they joined the organization, they were ready to die. Now, it's impossible for them to be Dustless's dogs in order to survive. You can't wait to die. Dustless, who had expected this, sneered again and again. Although Lucci and the others didn't speak, they must have said the same thing. They are loyal to the world government and are not afraid of death. Sorrow. Jabra's body suddenly turned into a shadow, and a gust of wind swept through the air, and then he appeared at the back of Dustless's head. Sure gone. The muscles at the front of his fingers tightened, and the power was strengthened to the point that it could easily penetrate a human's body. Go to hell. Jabra shouted, and immediately his thumb mercilessly pierced toward Dustless. The target was his head. This move was extremely cruel, and he intended to kill Dustless with one blow. You want to kill me? You should go home and train for 100 years. Dustless turned his head and looked at Jabra with disdain, and said sarcastically. Hearing this, Jabra became angry and the strength in his hand increased by 3 points. Caw caw caw, the crisp sound of bones breaking sounded out of thin air. The CP9 members thought that Dustless's blood was splashed on the spot, but they didn't expect him to stand still. Instead, Jabra behind him was full of pain. His fingers were obviously distorted and completely destroyed. What the hell is this move? Tekai. It doesn't seem to have this level of hardness. Jabra clearly used it on his head. How did Jabra's hand break? The CP9 members were stunned and petrified on the spot. If I'm not wrong, this should be armament hockey. Its defensive power is far stronger than Tekai. I heard that it can also attack Logia ability users. Lucci's eyes lit up. This was also what he heard, and he didn't know the specifics. Lightspeed kick. His body jumped up, and his leg instantly eroded Jabra's body. Bang bang bang. The sealed wall was pierced through, and Gabriel was trapped within. His entire body was in a charred state, turning into a pile of charred meat paste. His heart had completely stopped beating, and his motionless appearance showed that he had completely died. This is the strength of a Marine Admiral. He can easily kill a CP9 with a single move. The two of them were on completely different levels. The difference was like the difference between heaven and earth. It was like a powerless child encountering an adult with infinite strength. It would be destroyed with a flick of a finger. Chapter 797. This is the strength of a Marine Admiral. He can easily kill the CP9 with a single move. The two of them were on completely different levels. The difference was like the difference between heaven and earth. It was like a powerless child encountering an adult with infinite strength. It would be destroyed with a flick of a finger. Before I change my mind, come at me. I will give you a chance to bloom before I obliterate you. It's not fair to kill you directly. Wu Chen hooked his finger and said provocatively. Lu Qi and the others looked at each other and immediately swarmed up without hesitation. They can deal with the Straw Hat Pirates alone, but now the opponent is a Marine Admiral, they can only gang up on him. Do you think you can change the outcome of defeat? Like a child who likes to dream. He gathered a large amount of high-density photons with one hand and gathered them into a strong, dazzling light. If one looked at it, they would feel the sharp edge that was like a blade on one's back. Yasukani no Magatama. The flashes of light rained down from the sky. The CP9 members were bathed in endless light as they tried their best to avoid it. Pucci. Although they avoided a large number of flashes of light, it was inevitable that some of them slipped through the net. Their bodies were inevitably pierced and there were thumb-sized burn marks. And as time went by, more and more wounds appeared. About 10 seconds later, the large warehouse that was stained with gold returned to normal, and the light bullets shot by Dustless were annihilated one after another. Lu Qi, Kaku, Khalifa, and others were fine. They are all outstanding existences in the CP9, so they were spared, but their bodies also have clear burn holes. It would be impossible for him to escape unscathed from the concentrated attacks just now. Only Khalifa and Blueno were safe. The latter escaped the destruction of the Yasukani no Magatama because of the particularity of the fruit. As for Khalifa, do you think I'm great? You don't want to have holes all over your body, right? Looking at Khalifa with a smile, Dustless had an expression that said, "You should be thanking me." As for the other members of the CP9, without exception, they all fell in a pool of blood. The dense Yasukani no Magatama penetrated their bodies. They died one after another. Their expressions were full of fear. They had suffered great pain before they died. Even Lu Qi, who killed countless people, was slightly pale. Sorrow. His body lost its texture and disappeared without a trace. Six King's Spear. As if he suddenly emerged from the void, Lu Qi condensed a majestic force in his hands and directly smashed towards Dustless's back. The strong impact produced by his hands made the whole body tremble. Boom, boom, boom. The hard floor was easily penetrated, and a big hole appeared. Lu Qi narrowed his eyes and tried to find Dustless in the deep hole. When the smoke dispersed, there was no one left in the desolated pit. With your current level of cultivation, it will be difficult for you to even touch my body. Fighting against me will only bring about your own destruction. The photons condensed and retracted, transforming into Dustless. I don't need to tell you. You should know that pure physical attacks are useless against nature-type abilities. From the start of this battle, you were destined to lose. To touch the body of a Logia user, you need armament hockey. CP9 members don't understand it at present, and some of them may not even know what armament hockey is. Renkyaku. Kaku, in his giraffe form, raised his foot and made a long and narrow crack on the ground. A group of problem brats. It seems that you don't understand human language. Dustless's expression gradually became gloomy, and he also gave up the last heart in his heart. The world government had brainwashed them many years ago, and the chance of them turning back is zero. This is the end of the small skirmishes. The hostility in his body rose, and his momentum continued to rise. Even because of too much oppression, the particles on the ground kept jumping back and forth. Who needs your small fight? Behind Dustless, the space suddenly opened, and a figure appeared from inside. It was Blueno. As a door fruit user, his ability is quite strange. You don't know how to live. Observation hockey spread out, and everything around him couldn't escape Dustless's perception. The moment Blueno appeared, Dustless clearly perceived his existence. You want to shorten the gap between realms with your devil fruit ability. This kind of simple idea is just deceiving yourself. Leisurely looking back, the light in his hand whistled out. Laser. As Dustless's voice fell, the light beam erupted. It happened so suddenly that Bruno, who was completely unaware, was directly hit. There was a scorched hole visible to the naked eye between his eyebrows on his forehead. It ran through his whole head, and he immediately fell to the ground. After struggling for a while, he completely lost consciousness. Next, you guys, Lucci, Kaku, and Califa. Dustless's eyes looked at the remaining three people, and his eyes flashed a bloody light. The murderous look made it difficult for them to breathe, and the huge sense of oppression made it difficult for them to breathe. You two, hurry up and leave. I'll hold him off. Taking a step forward, Lucci's eyes glowed with awe-inspiring luster. His firm tone carried a hint of desperation. Although Lucci was usually indifferent and unreasonable, in fact, he still valued his companions. Chapter 798. Taking a step forward, Lucci's eyes glowed with awe-inspiring luster. His firm tone carried a hint of desperation. Although Lucci was usually indifferent and unreasonable, he still valued his companions. Just you. I don't know where your confidence comes from. Hearing this, Wuchen looked at Lucci contemptuously. With a lazy smile on his face, he stretched and yawned casually. Then, he found a place to sit down. Although this series of actions was full of flaws, no one dared to make a move. I'm different from Blueno and the others. Lucci clenched his hand into a fist and said firmly. Lucci is useless, we can't escape. Kaku said in a deep voice, and his tone also revealed the meaning of death. Hearing this, Lucci raised his eyebrows slightly, and his eyes flashed with anger. He was about to scold them, but Dustless's voice sounded in advance. There's no need to be so sad, as long as you are willing to bow your head. Whoosh! Dustless's voice didn't fall, and a beautiful leg swept across. Little girl, you are young, but your temper is not small. Your boss hasn't made a move yet, and you can't wait to come to the door. Lightly lifting his hand to catch the beautiful leg that was sweeping towards him, Wuchen smiled leisurely and said, You'd better watch obediently. Don't make a move so easily, or else you'll be exposed. Following Dustless's line of sight, what came into view was the most mysterious part of the woman. It turned out to be purple. Worthy of being the only woman in the CP9, her taste is heavy. Dustless smirked, and secretly slandered her in his heart. You bastard! I will kill you! Califa's face was red, and she naturally understood the meaning of Dustless's words. Her face flashed with a strong killing intent, and she tried to retract her leg that was caught by Dustless to avoid being seen by this bastard. His strength is so strong. Is this the strength of the Marine's highest combat power? Califa's face was cloudy, and she was shocked. She used everything she had, but she could not move Dustless. The hand that grabbed Califa's leg did not move. His expression was calm as if nothing had happened. Renkyaku. The silver-white light came straight at Dustless. It was as sharp as the slash from the sword and saber. The flowing wind and waves were cut in half. It looked as if it was going to devour and annihilate Dustless. I've told you before, this kind of random attack is useless against me. She raised her hand, and her small white hand was instantly corroded by the black color. The moment her slash came into contact with Dustless, her small black hand flung out, and the pale silver light trembled violently. Caw caw caw. The weak and powerless hand was filled with terrifying strength, and the huge silver light was instantly shattered. The exploding silver light scattered in all directions, rubbing a deep hole in the ground. You guys are too inexperienced. Dustless glanced at Kaku and said flatly. It was as if he had done something insignificant, and his tone was unusually calm. Strange ripples splashed in the air, spreading out like water ripples. Wuchen raised his head subconsciously. Lucci stepped on the air and rose rapidly, easily climbing into the air, and then his body strangely stayed in the void for a moment, and countless flashes rushed down. Is this the Jeppo? Good steps. Nodding sincerely, Dustless ignored the existence of the laws of physics. His body strangely floated in the air, and his speed was extremely fast. In just a moment, he came to Lucci's side. A cat wants to roam the sky, the ground is your home. Lucci did not speak, but he felt a strong blow on his back. His face changed dramatically, and the piercing pain spread all over his body, and his internal organs trembled violently. Boom boom boom, a black shadow fell from the sky, and the whole ground trembled violently. Lucci lay motionless in it, and the scarlet blood stains on the corner of his mouth were clearly visible. It's over. Landing beside Lucci, Dustless condensed a high-density light at his fingertips. Sure gone. Kaku swept to Dustless's side like a ghost, and his strong and powerful thumb pierced straight towards Dustless's eyes. Armament hockey can defend the body, but it can't defend the eyes. Naive. With a dazzling flash, Kaku easily penetrated Dustless's body. Elementalization again. Tricky ability. Although Dustless's eyes were pierced, he was safe and sound. Elementalization can easily avoid physical attacks. It's impossible to use this kind of physical attack to hurt Dustless. It's difficult to even touch his body. Lightspeed kick. The right foot full of flashes rose from the ground and swept straight towards Kaku's head. Tekai. Kaku's back was cold, and he smelled the smell of death. At such a close distance, there was no time to escape. He could only increase his hardness without limit. Boom! After only a moment of stalemate, Tekai couldn't withstand the power of the lightspeed kick. Kaku's skull was obviously dented, and he was easily hit in the head, and he lost consciousness. Boom boom boom, the whole warehouse shook, and a huge cloud of smoke and dust was raised. Inside the closed warehouse, the dazzling sunlight shone in. Kaku's body smashed the thick wall, and a huge hole was opened. The sunlight slipped in through the hole. Don't forget that there is still me. Calitha attacked from behind, and her beautiful leg swung again. Dustless leisurely looked back, his eyes twitched, and his three tomo rotated, stirring up waves of ripples. Then Califa lost consciousness and fell to the ground. Chapter 799. In less than a minute, all the CP9 members were crushed by the overwhelming strength of Wuchen. They had no power to fight back. In the face of absolute strength, any fruit and all kinds of abilities are useless and will only become a laughingstock. Kaku fell to the ground in a bloody mess. He was covered in blood and wounds all over his body. His breathing had stopped, and his heart and pulse had stopped beating. This meant that he had fallen. Bastard, why does justice have to lose to people like you who commit crimes? Lucci gritted his teeth and roared unwillingly. He lost his usual calmness. Almost all of his companions were killed. The blow to him was no less than 5 thunders. Although he was cold and ruthless, he cherished these companions who fought with him in the past. As the saying goes, justice is cheap and worthless. Dustless took advantage of the situation to attack Lucci's psychological defense. As a citizen of Tianlong, my status is obviously higher than the Gorosei, 5 elder stars, but you chose to be loyal to them. It's unwise. If you are willing to give up the darkness, I don't mind letting you go, but it's too late. Dustless said softly. Farewell. Rob Lucci. A dazzling flash condensed on the tip of his foot. Lucci, who was seriously injured, couldn't avoid it. He could only watch the flash of destruction engulf and annihilate him. Boom. Boom. Boom, the super-large fireball rose into the air, and the hot temperature melted the steel building. The large warehouse suddenly disappeared, and the ground was scorched black. The surrounding buildings were turned into ashes, and the scorching sun shot down from the sky. Boom. Boom. Boom, the dense roar of artillery shells covered the vibration caused by Dustless. Staring at the giant flame mushroom in the distance, the Marine vice admirals who launched the Demon Slayer order thought that it hit the warehouse where the artillery shells were stored. Looking around, the fire in Eni's lobby was monstrous. The whole island was burning with monstrous flames. It was dead silent, like a purgatory on Earth. Charred corpses could be seen everywhere. The boundless fire destroyed the entire island. As for her, she's a good witness. Staring at the unconscious Khalifa, Dustless rolled his eyes and used Kamui to temporarily suck her into another dimension. With Dustless's one-sided words, it is impossible to cover the coffin. If Khalifa can testify from the side and push all the blame to the Straw Hat Pirates, the Straw Hat Pirates will succeed. Caw caw caw. A white figure emerged from the scorched ground, revealing a brand new layer of soil. Lord Dustless, I've brought it. White Zetsu handed the photo in his hand to Dustless. It was the moment when the Straw Hat suppressed the CP9. Robin secretly took the photo and gave it to White Zetsu. Dustless nodded and spread out his perception. The changes in Eni's lobby were clearly visible to him. Not even the slightest movement could escape his eyes. The entire Eni's lobby was dead silent, there was nothing except for the monstrous fire. 5 days later, the Marine headquarters was filled with Marlin. Bang! The desk piled with thick documents suddenly trembled, and immediately, there was an angry shout. A bunch of idiots, Pluton's blueprint is gone, and even that Rob Lucci was killed. Isn't he the strongest killing weapon of the CP9? In the end, they didn't even figure out who the enemy was. Sengoku was so depressed that he vomited blood. It doesn't matter if he is killed. There is always someone stronger. This is also a helpless thing. But the most unacceptable thing is that almost all the members were killed, and they didn't even know who the enemy was. We don't have to worry about this, the Gorosei will send someone to investigate, it's only a matter of time before they find out. Akiji comforted Sengoku, indicating that there is no need to worry. It's not necessary, I know who did it. An unexpected voice broke the oppressive atmosphere, causing everyone to be startled and look towards the source of the voice in unison. Everyone's eyes were focused on Dustless. You know. Sengoku asked expectantly. Who did it? That Rob Lucci isn't weak. Akiji was deeply curious. He had seen Rob Lucci before and knew how strong he was. Dustless smiled and immediately said, the Straw Hat Pirates did it. As Dustless's voice fell, the scene was dead silent. Everyone was dumbfounded. The captain of the Straw Hat Pirates, Straw Hat Luffy, is only at the level of 100 million berries. It's absolutely impossible for him to kill Rob Lucci. Impossible, the Straw Hat Pirates are not Lucci's opponents. I have fought with them before. Akiji frowned and was the first to stand up and question Dustless. Kizaru and Akainu were the same, and even Sengoku was skeptical. After the Eni's lobby was destroyed by the Demon Slayer Order, I went to the island and met the only survivor, Califa of the CP9. I rescued her from the fire and found these photos on her body. After that, Dustless took out the photos that Robin secretly took. It recorded the moment when the Straw Hat Pirates crushed the CP9. Especially when the Straw Hat Pirates fought against Lucci. Everyone frowned when they saw the Straw Hat Pirates fighting against Lucci. Califa woke up yesterday, you can ask her. As for Pluton's blueprint, it was burned by Frankie. Dustless said without blushing. He put all the blame on the Straw Hat Pirates and Frankie. Chapter 800. With all the evidence, there is no doubt that the people who destroyed Eni's lobby are the Straw Hat Pirates. Sengoku's eyes were gloomy, the veins on his forehead were clearly visible, his hands were trembling slightly, and the cracks in the middle of the photo were clearly visible. In the unseen world, Dustless seemed to have heard the sound of crows cawing. The destruction of Eni's lobby isn't a trivial matter. Someone must stand up and take full responsibility. Kizaru leisurely crossed his legs and said while blowing smoke. If it wasn't for that idiot Spandam, none of this would have happened. Akainu's hoarse voice was full of anger. Dustless was expressionless and chose to be silent. The people who knew that he got the Pluton design, except for the Straw Hat Pirates who were about to take the blame, were all killed. Naturally, he could rest easy. It seems that there will be a good show to watch. The corner of his eyes quietly looked at Akiji. Akainu attacked him with innuendo. If Akiji didn't give the golden den mushi to Spandam, none of this would have happened, and Akiji would be the one to bear the brunt of the responsibility. The contradiction between Akiji and Akainu was also clear in the marine, and everyone knew it. I'm afraid the one with the most advantage is this old guy. Only Kizaru is sitting on the fishing platform. This old guy is playing beautifully. Taking a step back in order to advance is also a means of self-protection. Wu Chen's gaze turned and fell on Borsellino. Spandam. Forget it, he has already passed away, there is no need to put the blame on him. Sengoku waved his hand, and a haze flashed in his eyes. He immediately stared at the silent Garp, and after a moment of hesitation, the hesitation in his eyes finally turned into determination. The one who destroyed the CP9 is the Straw Hat Pirates, and all the blame will be borne by them. Sengoku finally chose to put all the blame on the Straw Hat Pirates and said righteously, if they didn't break into Eni's lobby at all costs, none of this would have happened. The main culprit is the Straw Hat Pirates. Of course, that idiot Spandam can't stay out of it. Raise the bounty of the Straw Hat Pirates. Captain Straw Hat Luffy's bounty has been raised from 100 million to 300 million berries. As for the other crew members, they have also been increased. Sengoku's voice was heavy. How long has it been since the last Alabasta? Luffy's strength was enough to defeat Rob Lucci, so Sengoku was worried. Wait, this isn't over yet. A hoarse voice spread out, his tone filled with dissatisfaction. Sakazuki, what do you think is wrong? Sengoku asked with a blank face. Kazan can't escape responsibility for this. If he hadn't given the golden den mushi to that idiot Spandam, none of this would have happened. This is a dereliction of duty. Akainu said generously. As an iron-blooded marine general, he can't rub sand in his eyes. Meritorious deeds will be rewarded, and mistakes will be punished. This has never changed since ancient times. Why is Akiji so special? Absolutely not. This guy even thought about the blame, looking at Akainu speechlessly. Dustless could only shake his head. Akainu and Akiji really can't cooperate together. The two of them have completely opposite personalities. Akainu is known for being iron-blooded and cold. In order to achieve his goal, he will sacrifice anyone at will. Akiji's personality was relatively lazy, and he would stop when it was necessary. Therefore, the two of them are destined to be incompatible. This contradiction has been accumulating for more than 10 years, and once it breaks out, it will be irreversible. Kazan didn't do anything wrong. Nico, Robin and Frankie are both in Eni's lobby. It's right to take precautions in advance. Sengoku argued for Akiji. It's all that idiot Spandam's fault. If he hadn't rashly launched the Demon Slayer order, none of this would have happened. Taking a deep breath, Sengoku stabilized his anxious heart. All in all, this matter will be pushed to the Straw Hat Pirates, and all the blame will be borne by them. But, Akainu's face froze. Listening to Sengoku's tone, it was obvious that he was determined to protect Akiji. No buts, this matter ends here, don't mention it again in the future. Sengoku's tone this time was full of warning. Obviously, this Envoy Island incident was going to end in a hasty manner. Everything will be pushed to Straw Hat Luffy. Anyway, they were the ones who killed the CP9, and Califa was the witness. Idiot, glancing at Akainu with pity, Dustless had a little more sympathy for this guy. In this matter, it was obvious that Sengoku was covering up for Akiji. As Akainu said, Akiji was guilty of dereliction of duty. Without finding out what kind of person Spandam was, he gave him the right to launch the order. This in itself was a big crime of not knowing how to use people. However, Sengoku was helpless. It's not that he didn't want to pursue this matter, but if he did, Akiji would be suspended. Eni's lobby was destroyed for the first time in 800 years, and it was in the hands of their own people. This scandal is enough to deal a fatal blow to the prestige of the Marine. At present, the Marine can't do without Akiji. The deterrence of an admiral can maintain the current world structure. Suddenly, an admiral is inexplicably removed, and the current world structure may change. It seems that the smartest one is still Kizaru, Akainu and Akiji are fighting, and the only one who has the most advantage is Kizaru. Chapter 802. There is no doubt that Dustless's series of secret plans easily deceived the Marine's eyes and ears. With all the evidence and witnesses, it's difficult to deny Dustless's idea. There's no way around it, it's the truth. Garp, that guy left Marlindo. Where did he go? In the Admiral's office, Dustless leisurely faced the sun with a serene look. Behind him stood a slender figure, it was CP9's Califa. At this moment, Califa was dressed in black, her slender white legs were exposed, she was dressed as a secretary in the past. Yes, he left Marlindo, his specific whereabouts are unknown. Califa said expressionlessly. Her tone was like a machine, and her voice was filled with indifference. She was like an iceberg that had been frozen for thousands of years. Her whole body was filled with unprecedented coldness and deathly stillness. Unknown. You're not qualified to be a secretary. Dustless said with a straight face. He worked hard to keep Califa by his side to guard against Sengoku and others. These people are all black-hearted tigers, if Califa revealed the truth, it would not be worth it. That's why Dustless pulled her to be a secretary. I'll have a headache if you keep a straight face like this. Dustless looked at Califa helplessly, his face immediately swept with a strange smile. You're always so indifferent, it's difficult for you to be a secretary. I'm not your secretary, I'll definitely kill you if I have the opportunity, so you'd better kill me now. Otherwise, you'll be torn to pieces. Califa's whole body exploded, the temperature in the room dropped to the freezing point, filled with killing intent. Ah! You're really cold. Dustless pretended to be afraid, but his eyes were full of ridicule and ridicule. In the world I lived in before, there was such a saying. Dustless touched his chin, stared at Califa and said with a smile on his face, if there's something, the secretary will do it, if there's nothing, the secretary will do it. Califa frowned slightly, Her beautiful eyes flashed with some doubts. Apparently she didn't realize what he meant. If there's something, the secretary will do it. If there's nothing, do the secretary. After reading it a few times, Khalifa's expression suddenly froze as understanding flashed through her mind. Her pretty face flushed red as if blood was about to drip out. Even an idiot would understand what he meant. Finger spear. Her white jade fingers were strengthened infinitely, revealing a bullet-like sharpness. She immediately stabbed towards Dustless' head. Just as she was about to pierce through his head, Dustless spoke up to stop Khalifa's actions. You also know my ability. The one who doesn't know how to be domineering is you. No matter how you attack me, it won't help. These words made Khalifa's body stiffen. Her eyes flickered as she lowered her head, seemingly thinking of a countermeasure. Pay attention to your identity, you are a Marine Admiral, not a rogue. Holding a black notebook in her arms, Khalifa said coldly. Dustless's secretary, Khalifa was actually waiting for an opportunity to take revenge on Dustless. Identity. Since you know that I am a Marine Admiral, don't do something stupid. Don't forget, while I am a Marine Admiral, I also have another identity. Taking a deep look at Khalifa, Dustless said meaningfully. He deliberately pulled off his coat, revealing a unique outfit with gold rims. Looking closely, the unique logo was clearly visible. Seeing this, Khalifa's face was pale with fear. In addition to being a Marine Admiral, Dustless is also a celestial dragon with absolute authority. As you said, I am a Marine Admiral. But you must also understand the character of a celestial dragon. Even if I do something worse to you, it will be reasonable in everyone's eyes, hee. At the end, Dustless deliberately showed a wretched smile, scaring Khalifa so much that her face turned pale. She was as weak as a willow branch, she could only let Dustless beat her. Little girl, if I don't teach you a lesson, you won't know who I am. Seeing Khalifa's timid face, Dustless smirked in his heart. Now you should tell me where that old man Garp went. My body is itchy, and there is a fire in my stomach. If I don't get it out, I may explode and die. It's a headache, I'm struggling to find something to vent. His unscrupulous eyes stared at Khalifa, the meaning is self-evident. If Khalifa is perfunctory like before, he will directly punish her. In other words, he will force himself on her. He went to impel down, his purpose should be to see Fire Fist Ace. Khalifa quickly arrived, her eyes were filled with fear and fear. She has a deep understanding of the nature of a celestial dragon. Celestial dragons are both the creator of this world and the destroyer. No one can defy their authority. Those who provoke a celestial dragon will die. However, Khalifa is not afraid of death. When she was young, she had already seen through life and death. The only thing that makes her deeply uneasy is Dustless's character that likes to change his face like flipping a book. Just now, he was still indifferent, not sad, not happy, but now this wretched and brutal appearance completely shows the indifference of a celestial dragon. To some extent, this is the truest portrayal of the celestial dragons. They give their power to the Gorosei, 5 elder stars, who are equivalent to secretaries, while they choose to hide and marry Awa and live an extravagant and luxurious life. Chapter 803. To some extent, this is the truest portrayal of celestial dragons. They give their power to the Gorosei, 5 elder stars, who are equivalent to secretaries, while they choose to hide and marry Awa and live an extravagant and luxurious life. More than 99% of celestial dragons in Mariewa live like this. Khalifa felt a chill in her heart. Although Dustless doesn't look like a crazy person from his appearance, the nature of a celestial dragon is well known throughout the world. Extravagance and debauchery were the true portrayal of them, and cruelty was their style of living. Have you thought about it now? Squinting his eyes, Dustless jokingly looked at Khalifa, whose mouth was twitching and fists clenched, and said with a smile, "This is the nature of the world where the strong prey on the weak. If you are exploited, you can only blame yourself for being too weak. Didn't Lucci once say that being weak is also a sin? Dustless came and waited for Calipha's choice. A wise man submits to circumstances, such a quick-witted woman should know the simple meaning. After a long silence, Calipha could only bow her head and admit defeat. She immediately opened the black notepad in her hand. Mr. Garp seems to have gone to impel down. I didn't know that you respected Garp. Hearing the word Mr. in Calipha's tone, Dustless was quite surprised. Impel down. A few days ago, Fire Fist Ace was safely locked up in Impel Down. If I'm not mistaken, Garp went to see Ace. After all, they haven't seen each other for many years. It's normal to talk about the old days. Calipha explained. She didn't know the relationship between Fire Fist Ace and Dustless, but these days as secretary, she came into contact with a lot of secrets that she didn't know in the past. Is it really that simple? Frowning slightly, Dustless's eyes were filled with doubts. It's not that he doubts Garp. It's normal to look at his grandson who was imprisoned, but Dustless always felt that there was a different meaning. Everyone knows that Garp values feelings. You doubt Mr. Garp. He is the hero of the Marine. Calipha said with dissatisfaction, with some worship in her eyes. Dustless glanced at Calipha and sighed. Garp was indeed loyal to the Marine, but if he had to choose between his family and the Marine, it was still unknown which side Garp would choose. Rewinding his thoughts, Dustless still clearly remembered that during the War of the Roofs in the future, Garp had deliberately gone easy on him. In the end, he was sent flying by Monchi D. Luffy's punch. It wasn't that Luffy was stronger than Garp, but he did it on purpose. Garp didn't want to see Ace executed, so he let Luffy go. Otherwise, with Luffy's performance during the war, even 10 Luffys combined wouldn't be Garp's match. 2 days later, there were a lot of Marlin. Rumble rumble, Dustless, who was resting with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the Den Den Mushi on the table. His face was filled with doubt. The purple Den Den Mushi was frightened. What's the matter? Dustless put the Den Den Mushi to his mouth and asked indifferently. Boom boom boom, on the other side of the Den Den Mushi, there was a roar, accompanied by sharp screams and vibrations. It should be a type of artillery bombardment, and he could clearly hear the sounds of battle. Virgo. What's the matter? Virgo, one of Doflamingo's men, used the Den Den Mushi to communicate with Dustless. At this moment, his voice was anxious and a little flustered. A large number of pirates are attacking the G5 base, and we can't hold it anymore. His heavy and hoarse voice was filled with unprecedented caution, and it gave people the feeling that he was already half a step into hell. A large number of pirates. Hearing this, Dustless's eyes flashed with suspicion. Virgo's strength is extraordinary. He can use Busashoku Haki all over his body. His strength is amazing. Although he is only a Marine Vice Admiral, his real strength is far beyond an ordinary Vice Admiral. Which pirate group dares to openly attack a Marine base? Their courage is not small. Dustless asked coldly. This, Virgo's face flashed with embarrassment and immediately said helplessly, I don't know the specifics. These people don't seem to be from the same pirate group, but their strength is extremely amazing. I'll be right there. After that, Dustless turned off the Den Den Mushi. After tidying up his clothes, when he was about to reinforce the G5 base, several Den Den Mushi on the table rang again. Not only Dustless, but also in the offices of Akiji, Kizaru, and Akainu. All the Den Den Mushi rang, and the content was surprisingly the same. They were all under attack by powerful pirates and couldn't wait to ask for help. All the marine bases in the New World were under deadly attack almost at the same time. The entire marine headquarters was jumping up and down, and high-level combat power was constantly dispatched. Even Garp, who went out to visit the prison, was called back by Sengoku. Such an embarrassing situation suddenly happened, and the entire marine was busy like ants on a hot pan. Although Sengoku made preparations for the first time, there were still many marine bases being occupied and destroyed. The pirates of the world suddenly united together, and this time they went out unexpectedly, and their purpose was very simple. At the same time, they attacked the marine headquarters. Chapter 804. Pirates all over the world attacked the marine base at the same time. There is no doubt that there must be an invisible hand behind them. In the airtight conference room, the stars gathered, the smoke was swirling, the choking smoke gathered and the air into the lungs was full of tobacco smell, which was nauseating. Even so, everyone remained calm and focused, not daring to make the slightest action that would overstep their status. The only one in the world who can mobilize so many pirates is the Yonko, 4 emperors. Sengoku on the main seat was solemn. The Yonko, 4 emperors, all had powerful strength comparable to the marine headquarters, especially the head of the Yonko, 4 emperors, Whitebeard. Their strength and the size of their pirate group are top. Most of the islands have been captured. We are completely in a passive situation. We are led by the nose by the pirates. Once the marines rush over, they will retreat in advance. After the marines leave, they will come back again. We are exhausted for a while. Marine Chief Staff Officer Tsuru said seriously, her old wrinkled face was meticulous. Her brow wrinkled from time to time. Obviously, she also had a headache about the sudden pirate riot. The marine can easily deal with and annihilate them one by one. The marine can't deal with them at all. It is difficult to make an effective counterattack in a short time. Did you find out who did it? Sengoku lowered his voice and asked hoarsely. This is not clear. Tsuru also smiled bitterly. It happened suddenly and there was no time to investigate who did it. They didn't even know the specific number of enemies. The only news they got was that the dense pirates annihilated a large number of marines. All kinds of pirate flag replaced the marine flag. Who did it? The answer is actually obvious. The only person in the world who can use so many pirates is that man. He is the king of the sea. With wisdom in his eyes, Dustless whispered, there is no doubt that this riot is definitely the ghost of the Yonko, 4 emperors. Big Mom and 100 Beast Kaido, including Red Hair Shanks, it's impossible. Only Whitebeard who recently became enemies. The words made everyone frown. Kizaru said lazily, we didn't become enemies with Whitebeard. The people who caught Fire Fist Ace, the high-level marine in Shichibukai know that when Kazan and I escorted Fire Fist Ace, we were not attacked by Whitebeard's pirates. There was no attack, which means that Whitebeard didn't know about it. Otherwise, according to Whitebeard's character, he would save Fire Fist Ace at all costs. Dustless's eyes looked at Kizaru with playful eyes. You should still have an impression of Blackbeard. When he joined the Shichibukai, he was responsible for sneak attacking Whitebeard himself. I think you haven't forgotten his miserable appearance when he was suppressed. But in the end, he escaped, which has explained everything. At this point, everyone looked stiff, including Kizaru, who was speechless and stunned. He already understood what Dustless was going to say next. When I caught Fire Fist, Blackbeard happened to be there. It is estimated that when Blackbeard attacked Whitebeard, he was not his opponent and was caught by Whitebeard. As a result, in order to save his life, he revealed the news of Fire Fist to Whitebeard. Otherwise, with Blackbeard's strength, do you think he could escape from Whitebeard? After he finished speaking, Wuchen sat down calmly. Regardless of everyone's gaze, he closed his eyes and rested as if everything that had been said before had nothing to do with him. The tip of his thumb tapped on his knee rhythmically. He seemed to enjoy it and ignored everyone's existence. The scene was silent for a moment, and everyone looked at Dustless. Although it was just an unfounded speculation, no one could find a refuting point. Seamless and flawless, according to Dustless's thinking to understand the development of the situation, all the fog disappeared in an instant. Yes, Blackbeard is a despicable guy who is afraid of death and has no backbone. In order to survive, it is very likely that he sold the news of Fire Fish to Whitebeard. Vice Admiral Tsuru, known as the Marine's top think tank, nodded in agreement. It's not very likely, it's accurate. Sengoku lowered the brim of his hat to hide his murderous face, and the cold light in his eyes made his glasses covered with a thick layer of frost. When Blackbeard joined Shichibukai, he didn't have good intentions, but the 5 elder stars nodded and agreed, damn Blackbeard. Sengoku cursed fiercely, and the chill in his words could not wait to tear Blackbeard into pieces. He calculated his whole life, but he didn't expect to be calculated by this younger generation. In the end, Sengoku's heart was burning. Should we revoke his position as Shichibukai now? The silent Akiji asked. It's not necessary at all. Sneering, Wu Chen's eyes flashed with ruthless light. Blackbeard and Whitebeard are as deep as the sea. We can temporarily use him to deal with Whitebeard. Give him a taste of his own medicine. That kid will definitely agree. Are you sure? Sengoku asked suspiciously. Blackbeard is as cunning as a mouse, it is impossible for him to be so easily fooled. It's not certain, it's inevitable, no one can stop it, they are destined to be enemies. Hearing this, Dustless was very sure, Blackbeard's desire for tremor fruit, gura gura no mi, he knew better than anyone else. For tremor fruit, gura no mi, Blackbeard will definitely take risks to deal with Whitebeard. Chapter 805. Recently, Blackbeard has been hunting pirates all over the world all day long, and the Marine headquarters has turned a blind eye to this. His behavior can be regarded as promoting world peace, and the Marine is happy to do so. The existence of Shichibukai is to contain pirates, and Sengoku is also pushing the boat, hoping that Blackbeard will do justice for the heavens, so during this period of time, he has taken a state of indifference to Blackbeard. But then again, what is the purpose of Whitebeard's unscrupulous attacks on Marine bases all over the world? Is it to retaliate against the Marine for capturing Fire Fist Ace? Isn't he too naive? Akiji said doubtfully, with a hint of dissatisfaction. This is like an angry child venting his anger. If he wants to fight the Marine, he will fight the Marine. It's too arrogant and willful. He doesn't put the entire Marine in his eyes at all. That old guy can't wait to die. Akainu's eyes were full of fire, and his gloomy face was even darker. But this also explains a problem, Vice Admiral Tsuru rationally analyzed. Whitebeard doesn't know that Fire Fist Ace is in Impel Down. Otherwise, he will directly attack Impel Down. Dustless heard this and nodded undeniably. Whitebeard knows the location of Fire Fist Ace and can directly attack Impel Down. There is no need to destroy the Marine base. Rumble rumble, the Den Mushi spread out, and everyone's eyes focused on the special Den Mushi on the side of Sengoku's table. The content of the Den Mushi surprised everyone. It turned out to be Gorosei, 5 elder stars. This special time, it doesn't seem to be a good thing. As a celestial dragon, Dustless knows Gorosei, 5 elder stars, far better than ordinary people. This black special Den Mushi is used to contact Gorosei, 5 elder stars. Sengoku. Sure enough, on the other side of the Den Mushi, there was a powerful and oppressive voice. Although it sounded unusually old, the majesty contained in the tone was chilling. The momentum that has been trained for a long time is enough to make people feel awe. It's just a casual sentence that makes everyone nervous, and the scene is particularly oppressive. These guys. What's there to be afraid of with 5 old men? Dustless couldn't help but shake his head when he saw that all the Marines were cautious. There were hundreds of thousands of Marines and countless masters. In front of the Gorosei, 5 elder stars, they could only sit on pins and needles. The Emperor's mind is unpredictable, and the same is true for the Marines. They can never guess what the Gorosei is thinking. You should understand the current situation. I don't have much to say. The rebellion in the New World must be suppressed immediately, no matter the cost. A cold voice came from the Den Mushi. There was no emotion, it was just a simple command, there was no other emotion. People who don't understand may think that this is a dialogue between Sengoku and mechanical steel. It is the Marines' duty to annihilate the pirates, and the pirates will not be let go. Sengoku vowed. Okay. The Gorosei of the Den Mushi just whispered and immediately hung up. Sengoku's face was bleak, and there was deep loneliness between his eyebrows. His eyes were slightly turbid, and he was full of confusion about the future. Not only Sengoku, but all the senior Marines were silent and bowed their heads. In the end, the current Marines are at most helping the tyrants in the name of justice, because the world government established by the Gorosei, 5 elder stars, originally belonged to an extremely evil organization. The world is making fun of us. Seeing this scene, Dustless couldn't help but sigh. He naturally understood the complicated thoughts in Sengoku's heart. Damn Whitebeard. The angry roar spread out, and the sound waves were hot. Sengoku's mouth was cold. At all costs, immediately suppress the riots around the world. What about Whitebeard himself and his movements? Dustless, who was silent, suddenly asked. Sengoku's eyebrows squeezed together, and his eyes flashed with doubts. That old guy is strong and extremely cunning. We haven't found any trace of him until now. But this is not important. Suppressing the riots is the most important task now. Dustless gently nodded. He always felt that something was wrong. The whole world was in a mess, but Whitebeard and his pirates didn't move. There was not even a shadow of a ghost. This was a problem in itself. Sengoku was so determined that Dustless couldn't talk nonsense. After all, he was the fleet admiral. Countless battleships sailed out to sea, carrying the monstrous anger of the Marine, and rushed to the major sea areas of the world. The senior Marine, and even the retired Z were also invited by Sengoku to resolve the crisis. Somewhere in the New World, there was a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. This was originally the G5 base of the Marine. Now it is like purgatory on Earth. There are monsters everywhere in human skin. A large Marine battleship approached the shore, and several figures also jumped from it. Damn Whitebeard. That old thing really has a problem. His purpose is not to retaliate against the Marine. Dustless looked at the bloody island and understood the purpose of Whitebeard. Chapter 806. Everywhere he looked, the whole island was permeated with the smell of blood. Perhaps because of the long time, the corpses were somewhat deteriorated and filled with the smell of blood. The pungent smell entered the mouth and nose and made people feel nauseous. Even Dustless's face changed slightly when he smelled the stench. After the scorching sun, these corpses have developed a stench and a nauseating smell floated out. Fire release, great fire annihilation. His hands quickly formed a seal. The boundless sea of fire whizzed out from Wu Chen's mouth and engulfed the world. The blue sky instantly turned dark red and the entire island was set ablaze with fire. The rotten corpses also went away, dust to dust, and eventually turned into dust between heaven and earth. Whitebeard. That cunning old guy. Glancing at the almost destroyed and almost sunken island, Dustless turned and left. From the beginning to the end, Sengoku was caught in the dream that Whitebeard had carefully woven for him and he was deeply trapped in it and could not extricate himself. Akiji stood silently on the deck and looked down at the flames. The strength of these people was full of stench and cremation was the best way to end them. Those guys are really cunning and treacherous. After killing people, they ran away. They even abandoned gold and silver treasures. It's the first time I've seen such disciplined pirates. Akiji said with emotion, but he was speechless. Pirates are superficial people who regard money as their lives. It's rare to see pirates who simply ignore gold and silver treasures. Around the island and in the damaged marine base, rare metals can be seen everywhere, and there are many extremely precious emerald agate jewelry. It's because of this that there are so many flaws. These worldly things are fatal to pirates. They can turn a blind eye to them. It shows that these pirates are extraordinary. Only the pirates under Whitebeard can be indifferent when they see treasures. Dustless said that the pirates of the Whitebeard pirates value their family. For things like gold, perhaps in their eyes, it is just an insignificant metal substance. That old fellow Whitebeard must be plotting something. Really, he's already so old, but he's still so noisy. How good would it be if he could enjoy his old age happily? Akiji said sadly. He felt helpless towards the energetic Whitebeard. Don't worry. If it's a fox, its tail will be exposed sooner or later, Dustless said calmly. Whitebeard controls the situation of the world behind the scenes, but his whole person is like raising his hand in the deep sea. He neither moves nor shows up. He just ordered the pirates who were once attached to him to attack the marine base. Navies all over the world were jumping up and down, flustered, and lost their usual rhythm. The G5 base is now in ruins. There's no need to stay any longer. Let's go back. Looking at the burning island in the distance, Dustless ordered the warship to leave, heading towards the marine headquarters. Almost all the people on the island were killed. As for Virgo himself, maybe he was strong enough to escape. Dustless didn't find his body among the corpses of the marines. Huge ripples were set off on the quiet sea, and the warship turned back. They encountered many big pirates on the way, but they were also wiped out by Akiji and Dustless. For some pirates, an admiral is a ferocious predator at the top of the pyramid, an invincible existence. Somewhere on an island in the New World, the main force of the Whitebeard pirates gathered here. Oyaji, it's almost time. The whole world is in a mess. The marine headquarters Sengoku is busy putting out fires everywhere. They don't have time to worry about us. On the ship, Marco looked at Whitebeard who was holding the big sword in his hand. Don't be too hasty. There's enough time. Take it slow. Whitebeard stared at the void in the distance. About hundreds of meters away, there was lightning and thunder, everything was dead, and everything was dead. His mood was the same at the moment. He was full of confusion and hesitation about the future. Whether it is forcibly tearing the dark clouds in the sky, bathing in the fresh air and sunshine, or accompanied by the lightning in the sky, turning into dust and completely stepping into hell, Whitebeard doesn't know. What about Akagami boy? The next step of the plan depends on his progress. Turning his head, Whitebeard's old voice was full of caution. Just a few days ago, Whitebeard and Akagami Shanks met secretly. The two secretly formed an alliance and discussed some plans against the Marines. Now the rioting pirates all over the world are indeed instigated by Whitebeard, but Akagami Shanks has been hiding in the dark, quietly waiting for the opportunity to attack. Akagami is still preparing. After all, the opponents are two Marine admirals. They can't be underestimated. Marco defended Akagami Shanks when he thought of the enemy that the Akagami pirates were about to face. Whitebeard lowered his head to think and immediately nodded seriously. The highest battle power of the Marine headquarters, each one of them is one of the strongest in the New World. Recalling the precise and detailed plan, Whitebeard's tightened heart also calmed down and restored the tranquility of the past. Once all the high-end battle powers of the Marine headquarters are contained, it will be time for the Whitebeard pirates to move out. Like a sharp knife, he will stab the throat of the Marines and give them a fatal blow. Chapter 807. Time passed and it was getting closer to dusk. The gorgeous crimson sunset was sprinkling on the sea surface. Long-distance travel is bound to consume a lot of energy and physical strength, so ordinary marine soldiers need to go to the land often, otherwise they can't stand it. The breeze was getting cold, and the sky was getting dark. Looking up, the night turned into a deep black sky. After a day of intense high-density sailing, Dustless was a little hungry. His stomach was growling. He followed the soldiers down the island and caught a few sea kings for dinner. The bonfire spread, and after an hour, the captured sea kings were roasted. Rumble, at this moment, the den mushi in Akiji's arms suddenly rang. What's the matter? Borsellino, Wuchen continued to gnaw the one-piece barbecue in his hand, and the light in the corner of his eyes condensed and focused on Akiji. In the middle of the night, Kizaru called Akiji, making it as mysterious as a secret date. I was attacked by other pirates just now. Be careful. Kizaru's slightly gloomy voice came from the other side of the den mushi. It was unusually dignified, with a warning meaning. Obviously, the pirates who attacked him weren't ordinary. Rumble, just as Dustless was about to ask for the details, the den mushi in his hands suddenly rang. The crimson den mushi was screaming, and the person who contacted him was Sakazuki Akainu. Sakazuki. Don't tell me you were also attacked by pirates. Dustless didn't wait for Sakazuki to speak in advance. Boom boom boom, Sakazuki didn't speak on the other side of the den mushi, but there was an explosion of fists and a large number of pirates and marines fighting against each other. It can't be so coincidental. Akiji was speechless. They were attacked at the same time, and they used den mushi to contact each other. It was as if they had discussed it in advance. It's hard not to be suspicious. It seems that, it's the two of us. The tranquility on Wu Chen's face was restrained. His pair of clear eyes were extremely sharp like an eagle. Even the slightest movement of the wind and grass on the entire island couldn't escape from Wu Chen's eyes. Dustless thought that everything was normal, but a huge ripple suddenly appeared on the surface of the sea. Even though it was cleverly hidden under the dark night sky, it still couldn't escape Dustless's eyes. Not only him, but also Akiji, as well as many other marines, saw it clearly. I can't wait any longer. It's finally my turn. To be honest, I'm looking forward to it. He dares to attack two admirals at the same time. I'm really curious about the level of the opponent. Akiji's eyes were shining, and his tone was filled with anticipation. I'm curious as well. Wuchen also nodded with Akiji and immediately looked cold, revealing a strong killing intent. But I am more concerned about what kind of death squad Whitebeard, who has always regarded pirates as his own, will send to die. Whitebeard's sentimental and righteous nature was well known throughout the world. At the very least, he should be the captain of some division. Akiji guessed after hearing this. No matter how many small fries there were, it would not change the essence. If they wanted to compete with the admiral, only captains could do it. Of course, it's only a competition. Compared with the captains of the Whitebeard pirates, the admiral is still slightly better. Something's wrong. Are my eyes dazzling? Our ship seems to be sinking. Bastard, someone must have cut through our ship at the bottom of the water. My eyes are dazzling. Most of the ship has sunk. I hope it's just a dazzling sight, idiot. The ripples on the surface of the water were getting bigger and bigger, and the battleship continued to sink. In just a few minutes, the whole ship disappeared. Not only that, all marine battleships were in the same situation. Looks like he's trying to seal off our escape route. Could it be that Whitebeard, that crazy man, wants to kill us directly? His observation haki spread quietly, and Akiji paid attention to the situation of the surrounding sea to prevent the Whitebeard pirates from attacking. On the other hand, he said to Dustless in a serious tone. However, what surprised Akiji was that the surrounding sea was as quiet as the Dead Sea. Not to mention the battleship of the Whitebeard pirates, he didn't even see a figure. Seal off our escape route. According to the current situation, they are indeed blocking our retreat, but the purpose is not to annihilate us. Tensigan twisted and took in the changes in the deep sea. Dustless's doubts disappeared and he understood the purpose of the Whitebeard old man. Through the perverted insight ability of Tensigan, under the deep sea, he can see dozens of figures fleeing in a hurry. Although their identity and origin are unknown, they have the logo of the Akagami, red hair, pirates behind them. Even if he doesn't know their names, he can guess where they came from. Akagami, red hair, and Whitebeard actually joined forces. If I didn't guess wrong, they painstakingly made such a big move. In the final analysis, it involves the high-level battle power of the Marine. This is to delay time and make preparations for the next thing. From the very beginning, Dustless felt strange. The high-level battle power of the Marine was all restrained. Whether it was intentional or unintentional, it indirectly explained the problem. This was not the revenge of Fire Fist Ace after he was caught, but a thorough conspiracy. The target was not the Marines of the world, but a sufficient plan for Whitebeard's next plan. Delaying the admirals of the Marine and completing other tasks during this period, to put it bluntly, it is a diversion. Chapter 808. Thousands of doubts disappeared with the wind, and Dustless also understood Whitebeard's intentions. Revenge on the Marines was just a diversion to attract the attention of the Marines until the Marines all over the world were busy, then he could implement the plan with peace of mind. Ice Age. Akiji jumped up, and his arms shot out thick ice, and in an instant, the entire sea was frozen, and the biting cold penetrated the oppression of death and despair. Not to mention being frozen directly, even if you take a breath of cold air, ice will condense in your nostrils. Although I don't know who you are, if you are attacked by Ice Age, you will sleep in the deep sea forever. Akiji breathed a sigh of relief. Although he was not as extreme as Akainu, it was impossible for him to let the pirates escape. It would be best if he could catch them alive, if not, he could only kill them. Kazan, you will be disappointed this time, the guys on the bottom of the sea are not ordinary people. Dustless said with a little teasing tone. Ice Age is one of my strongest moves. Even if Whitebeard himself is hit by it, he will definitely be seriously injured. Akiji said affirmatively, full of confidence. Of course, but that's if it hits. What if it doesn't hit? Taking a deep look at Akiji, Dustless said meaningfully. Is it possible that they have a backup under the sea and escaped the attack of Ice Age? Akiji said gloomily. Dustless nodded undeniably. The pirates who sank their battleship were prepared in advance. Akiji's face was stiff, and his observation haki spread out, and the situation under the sea was clear. He found that Ice Age did not bury this group of people, and they were all dexterously avoided. At the moment, he clenched his fists like a nervous reflex. This time, he was tricked. Through the perverted vision of Tensigan, Dustless could clearly see the situation under the sea. Several coated ships were moving quietly under the sea, and the skeleton flag on the pirate ship was the Whitebeard pirates, but it was Red Hair Shanks who did it. This group of guys, pirates have such a rigorous style of doing things, and they are very different from those pirates. No wonder they are the Yonko, 4 emperors. With a touch of pity, Akiji said with emotion. Most of the top talents in this sea seem to have joined the extreme industry of One Piece. We messed up the mission this time. The ship was sunk, and we didn't catch the pirates. Not only that, Akiji shrugged and smiled bitterly. All the navies were sallow and emaciated. Not only that, I'm afraid that this time, we have to ask the fleet admiral to send a ship to pick us up. It's a mistake. All the warships have sunk, and if they want to return to Malindo, they must be picked up by the warring states. Marshall can't avoid a scolding. Rubbing his temples in distress, Akiji sighed deeply, and his understanding of Whitebeard deepened. His appearance is rough, and he looks like the other pirates, but in fact, he's not. That old guy's wisdom is probably unmatched in the whole world. Even the two of us found his way. Akiji's tone was sad, and he felt a headache for an enemy like Whitebeard. His strength is strong, but his IQ is also one of the top existences in 10,000. This time, the entire Marine headquarters was played by him. Despite this, countless islands were destroyed, and the Marine's face was swept because of Whitebeard. You're right. That old guy's plan is flawless. Strength and wisdom coexist. He can be called a perfect existence. He can be on par with Roger and Golden Lion Shiki. He is known as the legendary Three Pirates. In this era, Whitebeard has the title of Yonko for emperors. He is an impeccable existence in all aspects. The thread of discussion suddenly turned, and Dustless's eyes were filled with killing intent. This time, that old guy was wrong. But they have already won and sunk our ship. Even if Akiji was unwilling, he had to admit the reality of failure. Winning doesn't mean it's over. Sooner or later, you will pay for it. His observation haki spread out, and after locking the pirates under the deep sea, Dustless sneered, and his hand was like a black hole that attracted countless high-density photons. He said in his heart, Yasukani no Magatama. Shoo shoo shoo, thousands of flashes of light roared down, destroying the sea that Akiji had frozen before, and the momentum of the light bullets in the sky was unstoppable as they swept towards the depths of the sea. Bang bang bang, through the perception of observation haki, he could perceive that several people were killed, their bodies were pierced, and a lot of blood flowed out. It's a pity, after all, it's the bottom of the sea, and there is resistance. Their ship is coated with film and has an advantage. Our Marine is not a sea king. Akiji said regretfully. If it was on the ground, the group of pirates on the bottom of the sea would be instantly killed. Don't forget where you are, as long as you kill a few people, don't forget the creatures that dominate the sea, they will clean it up for us. Dustless smiled mysteriously, giving people a feeling of gloominess. Akiji was stunned, and after thinking for a long time, his eyes flashed, you mean the Sea King? Dustless gently nodded, the Sea King's sense of smell is extremely sensitive, and there are thousands of them. They exist in the sea all over the world, and they are worthy of being the dominators. Now that the blood of these people has merged into the deep sea, it will immediately attract the strongest top predator of the sea, the Sea King. Chapter 809. At this time, everyone outside the door was in disbelief. Because a long time had passed, and many cigarettes had been lit. In KK's eyes, there was a hint of worry. He frowned and said, that guy can really do it. Nothing has happened after so long. How did he do it? Is he crazy? As soon as he finished speaking, Klaus was also very suspicious. He frowned and took a deep breath. For a moment, his eyes were filled with suspicion. He said strangely, I didn't know that he could hold on for so long. It's really incredible. I didn't expect him to be able to do it to this extent. How did he do it? How is that possible? How could he last for so long? That kind of terrifying game is not something a human can play. How could he do it? It's simply impossible. Ulshikov said, how did he do it? How could he last for so long? That kind of terrifying game is not something a human can play. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone felt that it was unbelievable. Stephen frowned and said curiously, generally speaking, a normal human can't play that kind of game, right? Klaus shook his head and took a deep breath. He said, I don't know. I don't know much about Dustless. I only know that he shouldn't lose to that guy. At this time, Dustless's forehead was full of sweat. His eyes were full of surprise. He looked at the old guy in front of him and couldn't help but feel a little nervous. He gritted his teeth and said, "You're really strong, old guy. It's been a full 9 hours now." After hearing his words, Tun Alar Aluga Fulgaruxiu ignored his disrespectful tone and revealed a faint smile. He immediately said with a smile, "You're not bad yourself. You're also a very powerful guy. I didn't expect you to be able to fight me to this extent." At this time, even if Dustless unsealed 1/3 of his strength, it would still be difficult for him to withstand the terrifying power of space and the chess game that was constantly getting more and more powerful. He couldn't help but frown. Even if he could read the thoughts of the old guy in front of him, he couldn't keep up. However, he knew that he must keep up, or else he might be killed. With this thought in mind, he began to chat even more seriously. At this time, his mind was constantly filled with a lot of knowledge. He gritted his teeth and continued to play chess. The chess game between the two was getting faster and faster, and the flow of space was getting faster and faster. At this moment, he was sweating profusely. He knew that the time was almost up, but he also knew that this was the most difficult part because the formula was getting more and more dense and difficult to defend. He knew that if he couldn't hold on, he would definitely die. He must hold on to this wave of attack. He thought in his mind. More and more sweat on his nose. Although he was in half-immortal state, he couldn't stop the sweat from dripping. A hint of nervousness appeared in his eyes as he gritted his teeth and said, "You are indeed very powerful." Tun Alar Aluga Fulgaruxiu was just playing chess indifferently. There was no trace of pity in his eyes. To him, playing chess was the greatest pleasure, regardless of whether the opponent was a human, a magical beast, or something else. At this moment, the two of them were playing chess with all their might. After an unknown period of time, Wuchen directly knelt on the ground and coughed out a large mouthful of blood. It was the first time he had encountered something like vomiting blood while playing chess. Tunalur Fulgaruxiu said with a faint smile on his face, "I didn't expect to reach this point. Let me tell you another good news. Just now, Ulshikov wanted to kill you." Just as he finished speaking, Wuchen's eyes immediately revealed some helplessness. He bitterly smiled and sighed. He was speechless as he said, "I didn't expect him to actually want to kill us. Forget it. Let's spare his life for the sake of boss." After saying that, he picked up the chess piece again and slammed it on the table. This time, the table became bigger again. Tunalur Aluka Fulgaruxiu's face revealed a deep sense of curiosity. He asked curiously, "Wait, even if that's the case, you still want to save his life? I'm going to win now. If you..." At this moment, Dustless's face showed a smile. He immediately played chess again. Then he said, "Don't treat me like a fool. I already know the rules. No matter how powerful you are, it's only a draw now. You can't win, and I won't lose now." When he finished speaking, Tunalur Aluga Fulgaruxiu suddenly revealed a surprised expression. He nodded and said, "You're really strong. You can go out now. You win. You've won this bet." At this moment, Dustless immediately breathed a sigh of relief. There was a bit of helplessness on his face. He finally won. He thought in his heart. If he continued to play, he would really die. His brain received too much information and calculated too much information. If he continued to gamble, he could only unlock more power, but it was also likely to cause great damage. He was already very grateful that he was still alive. He smiled bitterly and said with a sigh, "Thank you, Your Excellency. His life is saved, right?" As soon as he finished speaking, Tunalur Fulgaruxiu nodded and said, "His life is saved. You're very outstanding. You're the most outstanding human I've ever seen. Or rather, you're a creature close to a human. The energy in your body doesn't belong to a human. I'm very curious about what you are." As soon as he finished speaking, Dustless's face showed a smile and said, "What am I? Maybe you'll know in the future. I won't tell you now. In the future, I'll tell you everything, but you'll have to wait." Tun Alar El Aluga Fulgaruxius suddenly laughed and said, "It's been a long time since I've talked so much with someone from the same dimension as me. It's really surprising. We'll meet again in the end. Let's go." As soon as he finished speaking, Dustless nodded and took a deep breath before leaving. Chapter 8:10. Sea kings have an amazing sense of smell and are extremely sensitive to the smell of blood. As long as the blood drips into the sea, they will instinctively hunt for prey. Under the deep sea, once attacked by a large number of sea kings, even if Whitebeard comes in person, he won't be able to escape. This is completely a hopeless situation. This is their own fault. They didn't go to you, but they came to us to die. Akiji smiled. These hateful pirates sank their battleship and they deserved it. Paw paw paw. A few minutes later, huge ripples suddenly appeared on the calm water surface, and huge waves hit the shore, and the sound of the water washed the reef on the beach. Under the supervision of the Tensigan, he could clearly see countless black shadows gathering together. No wonder ancient weapons are known as weapons that can end the world. They deserve their reputation. Strange ripples appeared in his pupils. In the depths of the sea, the enormous sea kings that had gathered after smelling the scent of blood were at least 700 to 800 meters in size. There were even colossal creatures that were 3,000 to 4,000 meters in size. Imagine how terrible the consequences would be if one day a person had the ability to control the sea kings of the world. Caw caw caw. In the dark, Dustless seemed to hear the crisp sound of buildings being destroyed, and his eyes couldn't help but stagnate. Looking at the bottom of the sea, the pirate ship, which was not inferior to the Navy's large battleship, was directly swallowed by an unprecedented sea king. Even the ship and the people were all turned into ashes. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have done it, Akiji said with a blank expression. As an admiral, his observation hockey is not at the peak, but it has reached the realm of being able to control it freely, and he can clearly feel the fear of the pirates in the depths of the sea. In the face of 3,000 or 4,000 meters, anyone will feel awe and tremble, especially under the sea. The combat effectiveness of the pirates is greatly reduced, and even less than 100. On the contrary, the Sea King's Combat Index report. This killing feast was almost one-sided, facing the big mouth of hundreds of meters long. Many pirate ships were directly swallowed in one breath. Blood stained the sea. This group of pirates is cunning enough. It's time to ask the fleet admiral for help. With a sigh, Akiji could only bow his head and admit defeat. They couldn't swim back to the headquarters. Although there were no casualties in the fleet, all the battleships were destroyed and all the crew was trapped on this island. They could only ask Sengoku for support. Originally, they were supposed to support other marine bases, but in the end, they needed Sengoku's help. Thinking about it, Akiji felt depressed. As for Dustless, he had already returned to his original spot and was calmly gnawing on the roasted meat. Akiji was more than enough to be the scapegoat. Rumble. In just a few seconds, Akiji contacted Sengoku and explained the reason for the matter. As he guessed, Sengoku was angry at first, and after he got all the pirates, he immediately agreed to send a ship to pick up the thousands of people. Send a warship to pick us up as soon as possible. Akiji sighed. When he was about to turn off the Den Den Mushi, a shadow suddenly appeared, and the Den Den Mushi in his hand disappeared. It's me. I have figured out the purpose of the old guy Whitebeard. Dustless, who took away Akiji's Den Den Mushi, said something amazing, and his eyes were shining against the black night sky. "Are you sure?" Marlin's eyes were shining, and his calm tone was hard to hide. "So far, there is no trace of the Whitebeard pirates. Gorisei, 5 elder stars, have urged us several times. This guy is really shameless." Akiji, who was standing in the same place, was petrified on the spot. He scolded Dustless in his heart for being shameless. Now it's time to get credit. It's strange that there is a trace of the Whitebeard pirates. He is currently waiting for an opportunity. He let his pirates attack in large numbers just to attract the top battle power of the Marine. After we are tired of dealing with it, he will wait for an opportunity to make a move. Wu Qin said resolutely, his tone revealing an indomitable determination. "And the people who just sank our battleship were also involved in the Akagami, red hair, pirates." Sengoku's eyebrows were tightly wrinkled, and his heart was in his throat. He still had a chance to win against Whitebeard, but if he added the Akagami, red hair, pirates, it would be a suspense. The wolf's ambition is obvious. The only person who can be worthy of Whitebeard is Fire Fist Ace. Dustless said Whitebeard's purpose. It should be impossible for him to know about Fire Fist Ace, otherwise he would have already robbed him. Akiji frowned as he came over. If he knew that Fire Fist Ace was an impel down, he would be able to do it directly. Otherwise, it would be more difficult to rob him on the day of the Marine's public execution. Sengoku on the other side of the Den Mushi also nodded. A few days ago, Whitebeard really didn't know where Fire Fist Ace was hiding, but in recent days he knew. Dustless's expression was calm, and Garp's figure appeared in his mind. Garp went to impel down a few days ago, which is equivalent to releasing the signal that Fire Fist Ace is in impel down. Garp didn't know anyone in impel down, and the only one who suddenly went to impel down was Fire Fist Ace, who was caught by the Marine. Now Kazan and I are trapped. Sakazuki said that he was also attacked by pirates, and Borsellino is no exception. It is estimated that Garp and others are the same. The Marine's top battle power has all been restrained. It is estimated that it will not be long before Whitebeard gathers the power of all the pirates to attack Impel Down. Even if the war starts, we will not be able to deal with Whitebeard. Chapter 8:11. Now Kazan and I are trapped. Sakazuki said that he was also attacked by pirates, and Borsellino is no exception. It is estimated that Garp and others are also in the same situation. The Marine's top fighting power has all been restrained. It will not be long before Whitebeard will gather all the power of the pirates to attack Impel Down. Even if the war starts, we will not be able to deal with Whitebeard. Wuchen analyzed with a look of shrewdness, and the tone he revealed was correct. Sengoku's expression was stiff when he heard this. After a moment of contemplation, his expression changed sharply. His whole body trembled slightly. It was as if someone poured cold water on him. Akiji was the same. Although his expression was not as exaggerated as Sengoku, he also felt that the world in front of him was dark and the future road was dark. If it is really what Dustless guessed, Impel Down will definitely be broken by Whitebeard. This should just be your personal conjecture. Whitebeard shouldn't be that smart. Akiji said with an ugly face. His uncertain tone gave people the feeling that he was deceiving himself. Thinking about it, their strength is terrifying and unprecedented. If their IQ is high, their calculations are unparalleled, and they are interlinked, then the Marines are not far from death. The heavens were too unfair. No, Kazan, you don't know Whitebeard. I know him. He is that kind of cunning man. There is no such thing as the most cunning, only more cunning. On the other side of the Den Mushi, Fleet Admiral Sengoku roared. Obviously, he now realized that something was wrong. Others may not be so smart, but Whitebeard was an exception. This old guy's wisdom was extraordinary. He could roam the sea for decades without being caught. Whether it was the former Roger or the golden lion Shiki, they were all wandering around the world. Only Whitebeard was living so comfortably now, jumping out to discuss the Marines. I will now let Garp and Sakazuki go to reinforce Impel Down, Sengoku said. A while ago, he gave a military order to the Gorosei, 5 Elder Stars, to guarantee the safe execution of Fire Fist Ace. If he is rescued by Whitebeard, the entire Marine will be completely discredited. In the future, it would be difficult for him to raise his head in front of the 5 honored stars. He would inevitably become the laughing stock of the entire world. Marlin's numerous Sengoku immediately cut off their conversation with Dustless and began using the Den Den Mushi to contact Garp, Sakazuki, and Borsellino. I hope we can make it in time. Akiji breathed a sigh of relief. In time. This is just your wishful thinking. It is estimated that when our battleship sank, the Whitebeard pirates began to act. Dustless's words made Akiji break out in a cold sweat. Regardless of what Akiji thought, Dustless continued, moreover, even if we can make it in time, no one can go there to support us. Isn't there still Garp and Sakazuki? I heard that Z-sensei is also on the move. Akiji smiled optimistically. I know, but you haven't considered who their enemy is. Dustless said solemnly. Among these people, Garp is undoubtedly the strongest so far. His strength is enough to rival the Yonko, 4 emperors. Akainu, Borsellino, and Z are all admirals. Red Hair Shanks is joining forces with Whitebeard. Dustless reminded Akiji when he saw that Akiji was slightly confused. If he didn't guess wrong, Red Hair Shanks is responsible for containing Garp and Sakazuki, and of course, all his pirates. Although the Red Hair pirates are few in number, they are extremely outstanding. Therefore, the Marines want to reinforce Impel Down, but they are powerless. Now, no one can stop them. All the Marines' top battle powers are almost restrained. Those guys are really despicable. Akiji's face couldn't help but dim, and his spirit was very decadent. Rumble, at this moment, Dustless's Den Den Mushi suddenly rang. The Den Den Mushi's expression was furious. Obviously, Marin Sengoku was about to go berserk. Red Hair, that damn kid, I should have destroyed him at all costs. Sengoku's roar resounded throughout the Marine headquarters, and the lazy white clouds in the sky were evaporated by his flames. As Dustless guessed, Garp and Sakazuki, as well as Borsellino and Z, were all restrained by Akagami, Red Hair, pirates, with the help of other pirates from the New World. Dustless expressed his understanding of Sengoku's indignation. He was an insignificant pawn in the past, and now he has grown into a big problem. He must be regretting it. I expected this. Red Hair Shanks and Whitebeard always wear the same pair of pants. This is also the result of Fire Fist Ace's particularity. Whitebeard is Roger's best friend and enemy, and Red Hair Shanks is Roger's crew. Roger is indebted to Red Hair, so it's reasonable for him to help Red Hair. All in all, the favorable situation is now all in favor of the pirates, and so is the scale of victory. It seems that Impel Down can't be defended. Sengoku's tone was pessimistic, full of endless emotion and loneliness, as if he was abandoned by the whole world. He and Whitebeard fought for a lifetime, and in the end, Whitebeard was slightly better. Fleet Admiral, you don't have to be so pessimistic. Everyone has 1 head and 2 arms. Whitebeard is not more special than us. He can use his brain to frame the Marines, and we can do the same to Whitebeard. The corners of Wu Chen's mouth curled into a strange smile, which was particularly horrifying. Chapter 8:12. Designing to harm people is not exclusive to Whitebeard. If he can do it, Marine can naturally do it too. Hearing Wu Chen's words, Sengoku's face was full of hope. He grasped the only life-saving straw and asked eagerly, "Whitebeard, that old guy is cunning and changeable. He can do what people can't do. It's as difficult as ascending to heaven to plot against him. Obviously, I can't tell you how to deal with Whitebeard, but you have to make such a difficult tone. At this time, you still want to play hard to get." Dustless shook his head and secretly scolded Sengoku for being shameless. "Since Whitebeard has made a move, then we can only passively take it. Counting on the veterans of Impel Down, it's estimated that it's not enough to fill the gap between his teeth. The battle power of Impel Down's army is less than half of Whitebeard's. Since the admirals can't get out, they can use the power of Shichibukai," Dustless suggested softly. Sengoku's eyes flashed with hesitation and changed quickly. "Fire Fist Ace is lost, the loss of face is even greater, and it will be difficult for Marine to raise their heads in the future." Dustless saw through Sengoku's thoughts. Sengoku wanted nothing more than to use Marine's power to deal with Whitebeard. Using the power of Shichibukai in a great victory will have more flaws in Sengoku's eyes. Blackbeard can't wait to take Whitebeard's life. Moonlight Moria also wants Whitebeard's body even in his dreams. As for Bartholomew Ursa, he is simply the government's lackey. These people don't need orders. As long as you say it, they will probably rush to deal with Whitebeard. Of course, it's not enough to count on the three of them. Whitebeard is known as the strongest man in the world. The three of them together are not Whitebeard's opponents, and they are facing the entire Whitebeard pirates. If they want to rely on the three of them, they will be doomed. Maybe Blackbeard will take the opportunity to run away. We can provoke the people inside the Whitebeard pirates. His group of sons also have ulterior motives. They can completely provoke dissension and plot against Whitebeard." Dustless's face was filled with killing intent as he smiled coldly. Killing someone did not necessarily have to be done personally. There were countless ways to defeat the other party. The key was how to use them. For an Iron Man like Whitebeard, the physical pain was far less severe than the betrayal of his family. Dustless still clearly remembers that during the later War of the Best, Sakazuki's Akainu instigated the Whitebeard pirates to severely injure him. Although the location and format were different, it was worth a try. That's right. That guy named Squard seems to have a lot of opinions about Fire Fist Ace. We can use him. In this way, we may be able to defeat Whitebeard without any losses. Sengoku sneered, and his eyes were glowing with the light of choosing people to devour, which was particularly terrifying. The pirate king Gold Roger once killed Squard's family. That Squard didn't know the true identity of Ace. We can tell him through secret channels. After adding fuel to the fire, let Squard plot against Whitebeard. The silent Akiji's face was complicated. There was a huge deviation between Marine's justice and his ideal, and as time went on, the deviation would get bigger and bigger. On the blue sea, the giant pirates cut through the thorns and rushed forward in the direction of Impel Down. There was a skull flag hanging on the hull of the unknown ship, and there were two clearly visible thick beards. It was the Whitebeard pirates that had disappeared for a long time. I thought that Akagami, red hair, would do something. It turned out to be such a ridiculous trick. Diamond Jozu had already received news from Akagami, red hair, that Dustless and Akiji were both pinned down and could not support Impel Down for the time being. Of course, it was not Dustless and Akiji, but the entire marine, unless Sengoku himself rushed to Impel Down. Jozu, Whitebeard's eyes were full of love, and they were instantly replaced by a sense of oppression. He said loudly, "Completing the task at the cost of minimal casualties is worthy of respect and learning. Some strategies are often ugly and ridiculous, but the effect is often unexpected. In this way, we can finally rescue Ace." Marco breathed a sigh of relief, and his tone was a little relaxed. These days, he had been living in the haze of Ace's capture. Not only him, but the entire Whitebeard pirates should say the same thing. Thanks to Father's strategy. Diamond Jozu said from the bottom of his heart. The current situation was entirely due to Whitebeard's series of plans. That's for sure. After all, Father used to be as famous as One Piece, Roger and Golden Lion Shiki, and he was invincible in all aspects. Marco also agreed. Whitebeard looked at this scene with no expression on his face, but he kept pouring wine into his mouth. As a captain, he must always maintain absolute wisdom. However, the pride and joy hidden in the corner of Whitebeard's eyes were difficult to hide. Being able to play the entire Marine headquarters, and even the entire world government including Gorosei, 5 Elder Stars, even his close friend and enemy Roger did not do it. Chapter 8:13. Being able to play the entire Marine headquarters and even the entire world government including the Gorosei, 5 Elder Stars, even his best friend and enemy Roger couldn't do it. Whitebeard's pride is understandable. The huge pirate ship sneaked all the way without any hindrance. The Marines they encountered were also destroyed by them. The high-level Marines rushed to all over the world to perform tasks. They didn't encounter any obstacles along the way. They were like fish in water. Unlike in the past, this time Whitebeard didn't take Moby Dick, but chose other pirate ships in a low-key manner. On the one hand, Moby Dick's goal was too big, and it was tantamount to revealing the truth of the plan. All over the world, even the Moby Dick was Whitebeard's own ship, and there was no one else besides it. Even the Rear Admiral level characters are rarely encountered. Oyaji, this time we will succeed. Diamond Jozu grinned and his words were full of excitement. Being able to save Fire Fist Ace, and being able to slap the face of the entire Marine, suppressing their arrogance is the best. Whitebeard himself is already in his twilight years, and he must win to improve the prestige of the Whitebeard pirates, and give those rascals a shock and color to see. Especially one of the Yonko, 4 emperors, Big Mom. A few years ago, because of the Fruit of Darkness, the 4th Division Captain Thatcher fell, and the initiator was Big Mom and her pirates. Whitebeard didn't hesitate to put his life on the line. It would be best if he defeated Big Ma and destroyed the island she once occupied, so that the pirates on both sides would unite. As long as there was an opportunity, Charlotte Linling, this ferocious viper, would launch a fatal sneak attack. Putting Moby Dick in the base before going to sea will not only deter the enemy, but also play a role in confusing them. After all, this time they suddenly attacked Impel Down. They can't take all the fleet, they can only take all the elites. There are still many members of the Whitebeard pirates stationed on the original island. Rumble, at this moment, the unexpected Den Den Mushi rang, that red-haired kid? Turning his head and looking at the slightly anxious Den Den Mushi, Whitebeard's heart thumped and suddenly realized that something was wrong. Red Hair Shanks will not contact him if there is no major event. Unknowingly, he picked up the phone. Sure enough, as Whitebeard expected, there was a message from Nightmare. Shichibukai, who were mobilized by Marine, also headed in the direction of Impel Down. As Dustless had guessed before, Blackbeard and Gecko Moria participated in the encirclement and suppression operation. The news that Whitebeard quietly left the island base was like a ripple on the surface of the water. Under the careful production of the warring states, it spread to every corner of the world in an instant. The truth of a secret operation was revealed to the world. Sengoku also listened to Dustless's suggestion. He first used the power in his hands to make Whitebeard's secret actions public. He used projection Den Den Mushi and broadcast Den Den Mushi to every place in the new world that the Marine can reach. Whitebeard, on the other side of the Den Den Mushi, Red Hair Shanker's dignified voice was filled with unprecedented seriousness, which made Whitebeard's heart jump to his throat. The Red Hair Pirates are now restraining the high-end battle power of the Marine. In such an embarrassing environment, they can still use Den Den Mushi to contact him, which indirectly shows the seriousness of the situation. The Marine has seen through your plan. They have made the whole world boil. You have worked hard on this secret operation. All the places that the Marine can reach know, and this news is spreading at lightning speed. It won't be long before the whole world knows about it, Red Hair Shank said in a very depressed tone. Is that all? There's no need to worry about such trivial things, Red Hair. Whitebeard's heart relaxed, and he didn't care about it and laughed. A pirate's life is always accompanied by danger. A pirate who is overcautious has no future. Compared to Whitebeard, Red Hair Shanks is at most a junior. This is not a trivial matter. Red Hair on the other side of the Den Den Mushi frowned with warning. So what? The fake Moby Dick is wandering in my base, and no one dares to provoke it. The pirates who hear the news will only think that the Marine is talking nonsense, and the purpose is to cause the pirates to kill each other. Whitebeard said calmly. Fabricating news out of thin air to cause others to kill each other is a trick that the Marine often uses, and it's known all over the world. It's not that I'm overcautious, but you're underestimating the Marine's means. Red Hair raised his voice, and instead of reducing his vigilance, he became more and more intense. Don't forget, there are many guys who want your head. Whitebeard frowned, and when he was about to open his mouth to educate Red Hair, another Den Den Mushi beside him rang. Coincidentally, this white Den Den Mushi also showed an unprecedented state of anxiety, giving people a feeling of panic. These young people still need to be tempered. Wait a minute, Red Hair. The moment he picked up the Den Den Mushi, he didn't wait for Whitebeard to ask, and the eagerness made everyone stunned, including Whitebeard's face. Oyaji, our base was attacked by one of the Yonko, 4 emperors. Chapter 8:14. Oyaji, our base was attacked by Big Momo, one of the Yonko, 4 emperors. This sentence didn't disperse in Whitebeard's mind for a long time, it echoed back and forth forever, as if he was possessed. His mind was filled with this paragraph and his thoughts were in a mess. Frankly speaking, Whitebeard doesn't care about the gain or loss of an island. Like Red Hair Shanks, he likes to live a wandering life. But now the situation is different. As we all know, the size of the Whitebeard pirates add up to thousands of people. This attack on Impel Down is a top-secret operation, and it is tantamount to exposing the target. Naturally, not all of the crew can be activated, only a small number of elite crew members can be selected, and the other sons, Whitebeard has placed them in temporary bases. In other words, all the elites are now concentrated on this ship, and most of the remaining are weak, and it is impossible to fight against Big Momo with them. A melee, Big Momo, that despicable old woman dares to play this game with me. Whitebeard's angry roar resounded through the sky, and visible cracks appeared in the surrounding space, erupting with destructive waves. The clouds floating in the sky disintegrated instantly, and the invaded sea instantly formed big waves, spreading rapidly, swallowing the surrounding islands. Don't forget, a few years ago, you almost killed Charlotte Linling. Women are very vengeful. Now that she has seized the opportunity, it is very likely that she will eradicate your pirates. Red Hair Shanks, on the other side of the Den Den Mushi, whispered after hearing Whitebeard's roar, and his tone was vaguely persuasive. Wipe them out. She is just a stray dog. Whitebeard roared, and the sword in his hand also felt Whitebeard's anger, making a burst of clear sound, and his supreme killing intent went straight to the sky. Caw caw caw, accompanied by a loud rumble, a dazzling crack appeared in the dark sky. The distant sky looked as if it had been torn apart by someone. It was terrifying and sinister. The endless netherworld abyss seemed to be the tomb of all creatures, and the flying insects and beasts passing through the sky made bursts of whining, as if begging for mercy. Even though this body has reached its limit, it's as easy as flipping my hand to exterminate her. Whitebeard said in a sonorous and arrogant manner. Although there was a suspicion of exaggeration, in the case of going all out, even if he couldn't kill Baigu Mamu, he could still seriously injure her. This was where Whitebeard's confidence came from. That was before. Don't forget, you are still on the way to Impel Down, and Big Mama is slaughtering your crew. Do you think Big Mama will feel helpless against them? Shank's voice came from the other side of the Den Mushi. Seeing that Whitebeard was so stubborn, he decided to be frank. Let's stop here, Whitebeard. Maybe if you don't hesitate to attack Impel Down now, you can save Fire Fist, but your remaining crew will be killed. Baigu Mamu hates you to the core, she will definitely not show any mercy. Fearing that Whitebeard would not listen to him due to his fever, the red-haired Shanks continued to raise his voice, giving people a feeling of hysteria. Whitebeard heard this and fell into a dilemma. For a time, he was in a dilemma. If he attacked Impel Down with all his strength, he may be able to save Fire Fist Ace, but the thousands of crew members left in the original base will certainly not escape the claws of Baigu Mamu. As the red-haired Shanks said, a few years ago, the former Whitebeard did not hesitate to hit Baigu Mamu and let her escape from the New World. The entire pirate ship was almost destroyed. Therefore, Baigu Mamu's hatred for Whitebeard is self-evident. Don't tell me you're going to ignore Ace. Whitebeard roared, showing a deep struggle in his words, and at the same time, his hatred for Baigu Mamu soared. It was his biggest mistake not to kill her. So today, this kind of thing happened. This is also helpless, the red-haired Shank sighed. He could also understand the sadness in Whitebeard's heart. He softly persuaded, take a step back. My subordinates have inquired that the Marine headquarters is changing equipment on a large scale. All the old mechanisms have been replaced. That is to say, the Marine is not ready to execute Ace. He will be safe for a while. Hearing this, Whitebeard pondered for a moment. Even though he was unwilling, he gently nodded and said with a pale face, that stupid woman Baigu Ma can't be so smart. Someone must have told her that I secretly left the Moby Dick. That's why she took the opportunity to attack. Whitebeard suddenly flashed in his mind and said, Marine, it must be that bastard Sengoku. Sengoku? Not necessarily, he didn't even leave the Marine headquarters. It's impossible for him to know so much. It may be one of those admirals. The red-haired Shanks flashed in the sun, and in his deep shining eyes, a young silhouette was vaguely reflected. His black hair was messy like weeds, his face was handsome and cheap, and his mouth always had a smile like a spring breeze, giving people a feeling of unusual frivolity. However, that outlined smile was a nightmare in the eyes of the red-haired man. To some extent, it was more like the smile of the Grim Reaper. Anyone who was targeted by Dustless could not escape the fate of life and death in the end. Even if they were lucky enough to escape his pursuit, they also lived in endless fear, living a life worse than death. Chapter 8:15. Anyone who was targeted by Dustless could not escape the fate of life and death in the end. Even if they were lucky enough to escape his pursuit, they also lived in endless fear, living a life worse than death. Although it was just an unfounded guess, Red Hair Shanks was very sure that even if the instigator behind this had nothing to do with Dustless, it was definitely related to him. What is your final choice? Abandon Fire Fist, or choose to walk down the dark path and save him at all costs? Throwing the complicated thoughts out of his mind, the red-haired Shanks asked straightforwardly. Whitebeard looked stiff and bowed his head in silence. He was reluctant to give up Ace, but he was also reluctant to give up his other sons. Even if he has mixed feelings, he can't hide the helplessness in his heart. For the first time in his life, Whitebeard felt that life was so hard. If I were you, I would definitely have a headache like you. This strategy is really vicious. On the other side of the Den Mushi, Shanks's sympathetic voice was heard. If he chose, he would fall into the same embarrassing situation as Whitebeard. There are obviously two paths to choose from, but it doesn't lead to the light after the rain, but to the endless abyss of despair. It seems that I can only retract my troops. Damn marine bastards, and that old woman. I will definitely settle this account with you. Whitebeard chose to give up the mission. He is the father of the entire Whitebeard pirates. He can't sacrifice everyone because of Ace. It would be too unfair and chilling. A pirate group that makes everyone feel chilled means that they are close to collapse. He can only turn the unwillingness in his heart into hatred for the Marines and Big Mom. He secretly vowed that one day in the future, he will make them pay with their blood. Oyaji, the impel down is close at hand, and it's just around the corner. Marco clenched his fist and his face was full of unwillingness. So was Diamond Jozu. His body was trembling, and his breathing was several times faster than usual. Although I am sorry for the brothers who died. But Oyaji, you also understand. The Whitebeard pirates can't do without Ace at present. Diamond Jot said in a heavy tone, his words hinting at something else. In addition to the importance of Fire Fist Ace, there are other factors. Ace's bounty has reached 550 million berries and he will inevitably support the Whitebeard pirates in the future. This important figure cannot be lost. The stage of the Whitebeard pirates cannot be without Ace. This group of people. Hearing this, the Maelstrom Spider, Squard, quietly left. His eyes flashed with sadness. He knew the importance of Ace. In the future, he would be the pillar of the Whitebeard pirates, but so what? Sacrificing the others for his life and abandoning the rest of the crew was too cruel. Squard felt that the scene was too depressing. He walked to the stern alone and breathed in the salty sea breeze. The bright and beautiful sun gradually receded, and the breeze gradually became cold. It was biting cold and bone-piercing, and one could faintly hear the cries of ghosts and howls of wolves. It's getting cold. Squard noticed that his body was cold and turned back to the cabin. Suddenly, he heard a burst of messy footsteps. He frowned slightly and looked towards the source of the footsteps. A pirate with a messy look hurriedly ran over. What is it? It's not good to be so reckless. Squard's eyes flashed with coldness. He immediately looked at the golden Den Den Mushi in his hand and asked, whose Den Den Mushi is this? The Whitebeard pirates don't seem to have this kind of Den Den Mushi. It seems to be the Marines. I don't know. This golden Den Den Mushi appeared out of thin air in your cabin like a ghost. At that time, I didn't see anyone picking it up, so I brought it to you. The pirate who ran over panted. He handed the Den Den Mushi to Squard. Rumble, the mysterious Den Den Mushi suddenly rang. The Den Den Mushi opened its eyes and looked directly at Squard's face. The latter trembled and an invisible pressure filled him. There was an inexplicable voice in his heart that warned him not to pick it up. He reflexively picked up the Den Den Mushi and was about to throw it into the sea when he accidentally touched the button on the Den Den Mushi. Oh, hello. I am Marine Admiral Royce Nan. An indifferent voice came out of the golden Den Den Mushi. Squard's expression solidified and doubts arose in his heart. He had no interaction with an admiral. He had never heard of this general named Louis South before. He thought that it was a lie, but a young figure suddenly appeared in his mind. Is it him? Thinking of Dustless's figure, Squard said coldly, if you have something to say, as a Marine Admiral, I hope you don't say stupid things like asking me to plot against my father. Of course not, this kind of vulgar provocation, only a villain like Sakazuki would do it. I just came to tell you a story or to pass on a message. Dustless said mysteriously on the other side of the Den Den Mushi. Pass on a message. This joke isn't funny at all. Who can ask an admiral to pass on a message? Gorisei or celestial dragons? Squard said sarcastically. It's not them. You are familiar with the people who begged me to pass on a message. Suddenly, Dustless's voice was like a black hole in the depths of the universe that could devour everything. It instantly attracted Squard's attention. The people who asked me to pass the message are from the kingdom of heaven. They are the crew members who used to be your brothers but were unfortunately annihilated by Roger, the Pirate King. Chapter 8:16. Dustless's voice was like a black hole in the depths of the universe that can swallow everything and instantly attracted Squard's mind. The people who asked me to pass the message, they are from heaven. They were the crew who were brothers with you in the past and were unfortunately annihilated by the Pirate King Roger. Squard was disappointed when he heard this. He thought it was a big secret and felt like he was being played. He roared angrily, showing the rude side of every pirate. Pass a message from the underworld for the companions who had disappeared. Do you think I am an idiot? Even if you want to tease people, you can't do it so casually. Squard said, getting angrier and angrier. He shouted, the one who can pass the message is an angel. Hearing this, Dustless on the other side of the den mushy said, if you want me to turn into an angel, I don't care, but I prefer to turn into a demon than an angel. I feel that this profession is more suitable for me. Don't push your luck. Squard's mouth twitched fiercely as he cursed in his heart. He had never seen such a person who liked to take advantage of others. If you have something to say, say it. Squard snorted and waved impatiently. Although his words were firm, Dustless still heard the eagerness in Squard's tone. This guy wanted to know the secret of Fire Fist Ace. Fire Fist Ace can be regarded as the number 2 figure in the Whitebeard Pirates. Whitebeard valued him very much, even more than Marco and Diamond Jozu who joined in advance. What do you want to say? Holding the den mushy in his hand, he seemed to have guessed Squard's words. As a Marine Admiral, I hope you don't tell me that Ace is the son of the Pirate King. This joke is not funny. If he is the son of the Pirate King, then I am your Marine Fleet Admiral's blood-related son. You think it's ridiculous? A casual rhetorical question made Squard's face freeze, and he couldn't laugh even if he wanted to. Dustless continued, in my opinion, because he is Roger's son, Whitebeard treats him with care. This can also explain everything reasonably. That's just your personal guess. Squard immediately retorted loudly. His firm tone gave people a feeling of being inflexible. But in Dustless's ears, it sounded like self-deception. This is not speculation. Dustless's eyes were like torches, and his voice was filled with shrewdness and wisdom, making people involuntarily convinced and unable to extricate themselves. The relationship between Whitebeard and Roger is known to the world. It's reasonable to take care of his son. You don't have any evidence, don't spout nonsense. Especially a Marine Admiral, don't make a fool of yourself. You have a good reputation in the New World, don't ruin your image in my heart. Squard's tone was full of anger, as if he had been greatly insulted and couldn't wait to throw away the golden den mushy in his hand.